What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream of Let's Get Nuts on the Ben Thomas Show. Thanks for coming back, guys. We have a packed Sunday here because we've got some wicked guests. We've got Shane, one six-figure focus in the back. We've got Chris from the Vintage Rebellion podcast. We got Classy Thomas from SpongeBob SquareBalls, and Pete is on his way from Only Fools and Collecting. But guys, we've got some interesting topics today, including, I want to know from the panel and from the chat, if you guys could live in any fictional world, which one would it be? I want to hear from you guys, so start thinking about it, and panelists in the back room there as well. But we've got Hot Toys news, we got entertainment news. It's going to be a fun show. So guys, with that, let's get nuts.
Come on, let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showtime.
Here we go.
Oh, alrighty. Technical difficulties. You hate to see it. Guys, let's bring in our first panelist. We haven't seen him in a little while. Mr. Chris from the Vintage Rebellion podcast and over at Collecting Weekly as well. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming back.
Man. Yeah, no, it's always fun on this show. I love the format, so happy to be here.
Awesome, dude. I've got a lot of interesting questions for you today that I'm curious what your answer is going to be. So, stick around if you guys are loving what Chris has given us lately on the show. Mr. Classy Thomas from SpongeBob SquareBalls YouTube channel. You made it just in time, buddy. How's it going?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I apologize if I wind up yawning once or twice. I had no intention of falling asleep. I was just sitting there watching television. Next thing you know, I woke up and it was 5 o'clock. It's, oh man, I gotta feed the dog. So I was running late, but it looks like I did wind up here right on time anyhow. So glad to be here, and thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, dude. Every time I invite Dean from Collecting Weekly, I always think he might just fall asleep right before the show. But honestly, that's just...
It's the way she goes, buddy. The fucking way she goes.
It's the way she goes.
Yeah,
boys.
that's the way she goes.
Absolutely. Thomas, thanks for coming, buddy. I'm glad you're here. If you fall asleep, I won't take that personally as an interest in my level of questions. All good. All good. We've got another guest in the back room, Mr. Shane from 1/6 Figure Focus himself. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming back.
No problem. Said back to school on Tuesday, so
Crazy.
I said I had to make sure I get this one. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, my friend Hannah, who's on a break from university right now, I feel like she just got through her exams. She feels like she just recently sent me the snap to be like, freedom, summer freedom, and she's back in 20 days. So that's crazy. Like, that is very quick, it seems like.
Yeah.
So summer for me is the busiest time of year. I work in the painting industry. So right now it's like, this is the time where we are just balls to the wall, going crazy all the time. It's the winter time that actually slows down.
With your balls?
Well, yeah, that's a specialized fee. It's an extra charge rate, but don't worry about it. So, when we were backstage here, everybody, just so you know, I didn't realize this, but Shane was telling me a little bit about his quarter scale Batman. And that apparently on stream just the other day, it took a header off the shelf. Now, I missed the stream. Some of you may have seen it because I think Leal may have showed it at some point as well over on 1/6 Scale Man there. But I had to bring it up. Let's take a look at this. So this is Shane chatting with Don Prime from Geekin' Out, and
Transformers
just, having a good conversation.
Oh, right. So they completely changed that.
Jesus,
It gets me. It's worse and worse
Every
when you
time.
watch it. Yeah.
oh, that
like
is devastating,
It's like the Zapruder film. That's crazy.
dude. That is so. Like, how did that even happen? And is the figure okay?
Long story short, the ankles are very, very bad. They're very bad. And
Fair.
I'm like you, I don't use stands. But the ironic thing is, this is one of the few figures that I do actually pose with a stand. So yeah, like I had moved it like the day previously, and I think when I put it back, I didn't put it in the same care that I put it on up on the floating shelf I have, because the floating shelves are solid. And yeah, it's with the quarter scales, I was always going to use the stand because it's just that bit bigger. Like, I wanted to avoid that. But yeah, good news though.
No damage.
I got very, very lucky. Must have been the luck of the Irish. It's still in one piece. all the head is magnetic. It popped off. The backpack and the sticky bomb gun from the Hong Kong heist scene, they popped off and fell on the carpet, thankfully, and didn't smash her teeth off. Yeah, looked at the figure. Blade's good. I got very lucky. I won't get lucky a second time. It's still up there, but I've reposed it and put a bit more TLC into the center of gravity and stuff. So yeah.
For how hard that hit, I am shocked that it didn't explode into a billion pieces.
The table is kind of, there's a bit of flex on it. It's that kind of table that like if you hit it hard enough, it'd probably bounce a bit. Like, so I think it actually, the sound makes it. It was right next to the mic as well. So I think the sound makes it look worse.
If you had caught it midair, would you have done the Peter Parker at the wall just to make sure you don't have any No. I've seen it happen on TikTok, so I think it's a thing now.
Someone commented, I put it up as a reel because I just thought it was funny, and someone commented going, it was Tyria, goes, man, you didn't even flinch. I was like, yeah, because I didn't know it was happening until it was already done. I was more shocked then,
Didn't flinch, didn't even cry. I might have cried a little bit, but yeah, it's one of those things. We have another guest who just joined us from terrible weather, apparently. Mr. Jose G. Hernandez in the chat. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for popping in.
Hey, man, can you hear me?
Can hear you okay. Yep, definitely. Definitely. Can you hear us okay? We lost you. I think you can hear us, or I can hear you, but you can't hear us. So... sounds good. Technical difficulties from Jose. He'll be back with us here in just a second. I'll bring you back in the stream in just 2 seconds, okay, Jose? If you can hear us. Guys, I got a warm-up segment, because of course this is Let's Get Nuts, and it wouldn't be a show on Sunday if there wasn't at least one weird slide in my deck. So last week, I'm sitting there, I've smoked some devil's lettuce, and it's a Canadian evening, and I'm reading through random articles on the Facebook, because I'm old enough to call it the Facebook now, and this popped up. So it says here, if you blended all 7.88 billion people on Earth into fine goo, density of a human versus average body mass, you would end up with a sphere, a human's sphere of goo under 1 kilometer wide. This is a visualization of how that would look in the middle of Central Park, New York City. I don't even have a topic with regards to this picture. I was just so shocked to see it that I had to share it with you guys.
I saw that, and my first thought was, is that it? As in, is that the amount that it seems so small.
7.88 billion people, yeah. And one big meatball.
Yeah, we really are insignificant in a way.
Literally. It blew me away, guys. So I had to show this to you. I think my takeaway is exactly what you said. It is smaller than I expected, but also a horrible visualization of what aliens could do to the human population if they truly exist, especially in the United States. So I know, Chris, you've been sending us a whole bunch of alien theory stuff lately, which I've been loving reading. So
hey, man. Well, the great thing about this image is it sort of makes you confront the human mind's absolute inability to grapple with very large numbers. And 8 billion people sounds like a lot, but when you compact it into a very optimized sphere like that, it's not very impressive. I've heard that there's more insect mass than humans on Earth as well. If you if you made an insect meatball like that, it'd be a lot bigger than the human one, apparently.
Yeah, fair enough. I've got people in the chat being like Equan saying, my only question is why? Because Let's Get Nuts, guys. It's Sunday. You gotta get warmed up. You gotta get the juices flowing. Jose, can you hear us now, good sir? And can you speak?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We're good.
Oh, perfect.
Okay,
all right.
Absolutely.
Alrighty.
Do you have any takes on this spicy meatball, Jose, or would you like to move on to the real topics of the show for the day?
I don't know. I didn't really hear everything you guys said. So
this is 7.8 billion people as a meatball.
Oh gosh.
This is a visualization of it. Yeah, it's pretty messed up.
Gosh. It reminds me of that one meatball movie. What was that called? The Chance of Meatballs? That's how it starts raining.
Oh my god. Yes, cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Guys, let us know what you think of the spicy meatball in Central Park here. Is it smaller than you would have anticipated, or is exactly what you would have visualized? Jose, I want to start with you. If you could live in any fictional world, so entertainment, movies, TV shows, doesn't matter what it is, fictional world, what would it be?
Oh gosh. Whoa, you're putting me on the spot here, man.
So I'll give you 2
There's some
seconds to
great-
think
Yeah,
about it.
there's some great visuals here. I mean, Middle Earth, right off the bat. I
You'd
mean, if I
want
could
to live in Middle Earth?
Yeah, I mean, it depends which area, right? That's the first one. That's the
The
first
Shire.
one I thought of.
The Shire,
Yeah,
yeah.
the Shire. I mean, that's probably where. That's the first place I thought of. Because everywhere else, I don't know. Come back to me.
Fair enough. So for me, I think it would be the world of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I've always thought it was a really cool like evolution of what humanity could be, kind of an idealized perception of the world around us. I loved the technology. Some of that technology we have now, but it's not as nearly as cool as it would have been in The Next Generation. But I like the concept of they work to better themselves as a community of people. Like they all work together. They've got like a sense of discovery. The technology is cool. Poverty is seemingly gone. Racism is relatively seemingly gone. And so for me, it's a world that I think I would love to live in, or I'd love to see humans eventually potentially evolve to, if we don't destroy ourselves first. But I'll let you keep thinking, Jose. Classy Thomas, what's a fantasy world or a fictional world you would consider living in if you had the choice?
I think that I would probably like to live in the alien world, as long as I could be an alien.
You'd want to
Yeah.
be the actual alien
I would want
itself?
to be the actual. Well, actually, I would want to be the queen alien, popping out alien babies and having them all worship me, and then we could just be splattering acid on everyone. That would be kind of cool.
Fair enough. Not the answer I expected, Thomas, but I'll give you a point for it.
Definitely top of the food chain, though.
Definitely
Yes,
top of the food
exactly.
chain. Fair. Shane, you have to have a fictional world that you would love to live in. If you
My
had the
one's out of left field.
Okay,
but-
I'll take it.
Have you ever seen Love Actually?
Years ago.
Yeah.
There's a part of Love Actually where there's this really goofy looking guy, and he's just a bit of a plonker, and it's called Colin. And Colin's just like your average kind of goofy kind of guy, and he's from England, and he decides he wants to go to America. That's it, the life for him. So he goes to America, and in this universe, he goes at the first bar he goes into. This absolute 10 out of 10 banger walks up to him. I'm pretty sure it's Alicia Cuthbert. And said, "Oh my God, you're so cute. Say that again, because your accent." And then she has other two friends. One of them is your one from American Pie, yeah?
Yep.
Like, they're absolute 10 out of 10s. And he's like, "Oh, you need a place to stay? Come home with us." So they go home to their house, and then they meet the hot one, which is Denise Richards. So there's like four of them. They're like, "Oh, look, we don't have any spare beds. You're just going to have to sleep with us." That's a fictional universe right there, and I'd love to live in that one.
Crazy. That is crazy. That is a deep cut. I'm gonna have to go back and actually try and see if I can.
Because
find
that's the
that
whole
movie.
point. When you watch it, you're like, this would never happen. Like
No.
it's shot in that way. It would never happen. But it's seems like a pretty good universe though.
Fair enough. Lots of hot ladies wanting you to go over and hang out and have some beers at the same time. Maybe sounds pretty good to me, Mr. Chris. What about you, buddy? What
Oh, man.
fictional world would you guys live in? And let us know in the chat, guys, as we're chatting here, where you guys would want to live in a fictional world as well.
All right. Well, I gave it some serious thought, and
I appreciate that.
I think I'm gonna say the Mass Effect universe, because it has all the good stuff that Ben said about Star Trek: The Next Generation. Like there's like a Federation sort of thing, but Mass Effect also has cooler alien designs, strip clubs, and there's still money. So I think Mass Effect slightly beats Star Trek: The Next Generation.
And possibly a more natural evolution of where our species could go if aliens do also truly
Yeah,
exist. The Reapers freak me out a little bit in that though. I don't know.
Yeah, it took 3 games to beat them, I guess. But they're like the insect guys. Yeah, I don't know. They all seem sort of they're sort of like Star Trek aliens, where they all could be guys in the suits, except for those the Krogans are a kind of a better alien design than anything in Star Trek. But nevertheless.
It's interesting. Mass Effect 2 is actually one of the very first games that ever actually made me tear up at the end. all of the the character building throughout the story, and like the adventure you go on with these characters that you choose to be part of your posse, and then kind of what happens with you at the end and that group of people, aliens that you've put together, was epic and made me tear up. It was one of the first games I remember ever actually eliciting that kind of emotion for me. So
exactly, BioWare was, they were putting out AAA stuff, and to this day, everyone out there who hasn't played Knights of the Old Republic, just do it. Like it's better than most Star Wars movies. PSA over.
What system would that have been now? That would have been...
Well, you can get it on your iPhone now, so no one has an excuse. Yeah,
no, fair enough. I don't have an iPhone though. I'm still Samsung, so you hate to see it. Android, a little behind the times. Jose, we're back to you. We did a full circle. You have to have the best answer of the panel now. Just saying.
Oh man. Well, if it's not the Shire, it'd probably be the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. Like I want to live there. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So,
that would be pretty cool. Would you want what would you be your like animal companion? Would you want like a snake? Ooh. Would you want like an owl? Like a wolf? Because so many.
Oh man, a wolf! If you had a wolf companion, like you're like kind of like a Jon Snow, that'd be cool, man. That'd be really cool.
Heck yeah! Thanks guys for playing along. That is awesome. I like the Mass Effect one though. I could see that actually, because like you said, they've also got really cool weaponry in Mass Effect. So I can see it.
It's like a slightly more metal version of Star Trek.
Absolutely. We got 25 people already in the chat. Let's check in with everybody, and then let's get into the entertainment news, everybody. So, Collector Joey was first in the chat today, so let's get nuts, boys. 100%, absolutely. We've got 12-inch Moose Stream here. Let's get effing nuts. I bought so many Hot Toys recently, including the Artisan Anakin, which we will definitely talk about today as well, so stick around. We got Maxim M. Evening, everyone. Good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining in. We've got Batman's Collectibles. What's up? Tragedy Tales says, I think you're using webcam, Mike. Do I sound okay to everybody for you guys anyways? Relatively crispy. Let me know if it changes for sure, guys. OG fan when Star Wars was just Star Wars. Hello, everyone, he says. Thanks for joining in, buddy. Of course, we got 16-figure Focus himself in the chat as well as Vintage Rebellion. Mark Mitchell, hello, everyone. Good to see you, buddy. Equan here as well. Oh, Vintage, I already called you out there, buddy. We got Benjamin Rue. Give me that nut. You love to see it. Connor, that's a newer name, I think. I don't recognize that one. Awesome screen clip, by the way, too. It says, I'd love a Mass Effect 1.6 line so bad. Shepard, for sure. For sure. The most recent Mass Effect, I think it was Andromeda. That one you could change what sex Shepard was, right? You could play him as a female or a male.
I didn't. Oh, well, that's all three.
That's all three.
That's the originals could do that. I never played Andromeda. Too much bad press.
It got a lot of bad press. I never tried it. I don't think I tried that one either. I definitely played 1 through 3 though. So, but again, the second one made me cry the most. As Duran Masi says, "Let's get nuts." Good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining in for sure. And we'll check back in with the chat here in a little bit, guys.
By the way, hi to everybody on the panel. Sorry, I got here late, so I didn't get to say hi to everybody.
No
so hello.
We need to generate a really solid nickname for Jose, because Jose G. Hernandez every time is actually
I know
quite the mouthful. I'm not gonna lie.
Mario is calling me G-Shock.
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 It sounds really dirty, but if anybody wants to be called G-Shot, they have to let me know first, because otherwise I feel like I'd offend them. Mike Ladoris here in the chat as well. Almost missed you, buddy. Good to see you here. Thanks for joining in. And I actually saw Mike on a stream himself the other day, live. So, Mike, if you're ever interested in joining the show here, buddy, let us know. You're always welcome to pop in, of course. Guys, we have some entertainment news to cover before we get into the figure stuff here. So this was one that I thought might really hurt Shane's heart, because we know that Shane is a massive, massive Dark Knight Batman fan. And recently, Barbie has actually overtaken, domestically anyways, the box office results of Warner Bros. The Dark Knight. Which to me is mind-blowing, because I saw this Dark Knight film in theater 12 times officially. I've got at least 12 ticket stubs, potentially more, but I only kept 12. I haven't even seen Barbie once yet, and it's still smashing the numbers. So, Thomas, tell me how it makes you feel that Barbie has overtaken it, or are you excited that we now have a new throne holder in the film Barbie? Have you seen it at all yet?
No, I haven't seen it. I want to, but I'm probably going to wait until it starts streaming. But it's it's interesting to see what appeals to the general population, and evidently everybody wants Barbie. But yeah, but I find it. What do you know what the actual numbers are?
525 million domestically, at least based on this last report.
Oh, really? Only 525 million?
No, I think it's. Oh, sorry.
That was
Worldwide,
yeah, that was the domestic. So worldwide.
Oh, domestic. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
it hit $1 billion in 17 days.
Yeah,
17 days it is,
that's why I heard. I was like, wow,
which is insane.
yeah, that's kind of amazing. Kind of makes you think that Bill Lilly, the original, what Barbie was actually based off of. I mean, Ruth Handler kind of, she made some sweetheart deal with this no-name little thing. It was built off of a little. There was a cartoon that was in, I can't remember what country it was, but there was this little character called Bill Lilly, and I think she was supposed to be like what today we would call a call girl, but she was real sexy. And Ruth Handler was on vacation there and saw it and wanted it, and at some point, from things that I have heard, it sounds like she kind of worked a slick deal to kind of get the rights to Barbie. And so then they brought her over here, and everybody was kind of like, nobody wants that. They all want babies. But she put that little curvy thing changed her from a good time girl to a teenage fashion model, and history was made. Now it looks like she's even doing more. I'm surprised. I'm very surprised, but it's such a huge universe of characters. I mean, I don't know. It's just kind of amazing what connects with people. Totally. But over Batman, that's kind of surprising. But I guess in some ways, when you think about it, comic book characters, I don't necessarily know, have always gotten the same universal love that other characters have gotten. So in many ways, it may not be that surprising. And clearly, they wrote some kind of story that really elevated that character. Because I think it was just a little goofy, silly movie. It probably wouldn't have done much. So they must have really done a pretty tight story. So congratulations.
I think there's got to be the tight story aspect to it. I also think that there's some gamification when it came to this film, right? Not only is it cool to be part of the experience, almost like part of like the period of time in which Barbie was in theaters. Like, this will be something that generations of folks, I think, will talk about over time. Remember when we could go see Barbie and Oppenheimer or Barbenheimer in theater? Remember the event, the cultural event of seeing people dressed in pink and hoarding into the theaters to see this film. Like, it's been fun, right? It's made going to the movies kind of fun again.
Yeah.
And The Dark Knight, while it's of course my favorite movie of all time, I'm happy to see it get taken over by something that people are excited about and are talking about and are getting people back into theaters on. Shane, if Barbie was made into a 6-scale figure, would you now have her posed up in your figure collection standing on Batman, or would you just pose it beside?
I don't want any
think
figures from this. I've seen people talk about figures from this, but I think I'm calling recency bias.
Interesting.
On a lot of that kind of stuff. Like, people going, oh god, we need a Hot Toys Barbie. That's never going to happen because Mattel have the rights. It's like their thing. But like, no, that's recency bias. I saw this movie, and it's a bloody good movie. I mean, like, I want to go see Oppenheimer. Myself and Megan went to see Oppenheimer. Next week she goes, okay, it's my choice now. I want to go see Barbie. Fair enough. It didn't have to be dragged through it or anything like that. It was a very, very entertaining movie. It was better than a majority of the MCU movies that have been out in the last few years. I found it that entertaining. Is it a better movie than The Dark Knight? Oh wait, am I in a rush to watch it again? No, I'll probably never see it again. Maybe watch it once when it comes out, but it's a good movie. But it has a different appeal and a more broader appeal than The Dark Knight. This is PG-13, right? It has a Shrek effect. If you've watched Shrek, as an adult, you'll get all the innuendos and adult-based humor, but they're kind of camouflaged cleverly that when the child watch it, it's just about a donkey and an ogre and a princess, you know. And they have a lot of that here, so they're on that kind of PG-13. The adults can go see it and appreciate the kind of adult humor, which is hidden enough that it's not going to, you know, offend the kids or upset the kids. But the kids are going to watch it, and it's like, you know, it's a Barbie movie. That means you're going to appeal to not just children, but adults. So it's a wider, broader audience, therefore more money. Also, it's Marco165 says it. He said it a few times. This is the first summer where it feels like the blockbusters are back, and the cinemas are, you know, post pandemic and all that kind of stuff. Everyone's coming back to the cinema, and then you've got Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling. It's kind of a perfect storm, like, you know. So no, it doesn't bother me. A lot of the time, numbers from box offices are great. All that tells you really, it's not necessarily that it's a good movie, or, you know, if a movie breaks $1 billion and whatever. It's just that it has a mass appeal. And often, it kind of has to be a good movie to have a mass appeal. But didn't Avatar like make millions and millions a massive box office hit? But I've yet to meet someone who's a die-hard Avatar fan. You know what I mean?
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, it's a good movie, worth a watch, and I genuinely think I found it more entertaining than a lot of the MCU films lately. But I don't think that says too much. But yeah.
And in fairness, ticket prices cost more nowadays as well. So, like, hopefully, you know, some of these ways that we're seeing it beat are still relatively comparable, apples to apples. Because when I saw this back in 2008, ticket prices definitely didn't cost me $50 plus with snacks and all of the shit now that you get. Like, it's a whole experience you're paying for when you go to the movies now. So,
especially if you're like married and you're bringing like 2 or 3 kids.
Yeah, that's why I'm not going to have kids. I like my chocolate nuts too much, as well as my child-free life. So.
But you know, but also when you think about it, there really are a lot of really die-hard Barbie fans. If you look into that collecting community, there's some people who are all about Barbie. So I could definitely see the collectors from that end that would be all in it. I mean, I watched some YouTube things that were talking about the clothing and the that she wore in the movie, and then saying, oh yeah, this was based off of the original, this one, that, and this was based off of that, and you know, and how all the different clothing were named things, like the I think they had one called Solo in the Spotlight, where she's wearing this black sequined shiny tight fishtail gown. I was like, oh, okay, so it's interesting. But you know, and Shane, you were right about something, because that's something that a lot of things I've noticed about, even things like Looney Tunes and things like that. A lot of those are their humor is very sophisticated. As a kid, I remember just thinking it was funny seeing Wile E. Coyote flying off the cliff. But when you look at some of the humor, the jokes really went over the head of kids, but as an adult, I was like, oh wow, that's what they meant. And it's kind of cool that you can have something that you can appreciate at whatever stage of life you're in. So that's I think that's pretty cool. What's up, Pete?
Totally. Pete, can you hear us, good sir? Well, we can't hear you very well, though.
Hello?
Yeah, can hear you there now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Perfect. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for
having a few technical issues there, but yeah, you too, guys. Yeah, nice to see you all.
No worries. Last week we saw you like different angles on your couch and everything, so.
Oh, when I was on my phone, yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare, that one. But yeah, back at the desk now, so yeah.
Definitely. There is a bit of a delay for you, buddy, so just in case we're talking over you by accident, just so you're aware, okay?
Yeah, no worries.
Awesome. Chris, tell me what you think about the cultural event that it has been with Barbie. And do you think this has the staying power of something like Star Wars for people in their mind's eye, or the Keaton Batman film when it came out and the cultural event that ensued? Do you think Barbie will have that same kind of staying power over the next decade, 2 decades, 3 decades? What do you think?
I don't think anything in the last 15 years is capable of having staying power of any kind. nothing holds the test of time anymore. Like if you like, the only time I was ever excited about one film taking over another film's box office record was when Avatar: The Way of Water beat Force Awakens, because I was like, finally, there's some justice in the world. But if you look at the top 10 highest grossing films of all time, you know, it's like yeah, maybe there's not like diehard Avatar fans out there, but like the top 10, even top 20 is all just like schlock. It's like there's 3 Avengers movies in the top 10. Is anyone like, you know, like over the moon with the cultural impact of Chris Hemsworth as Thor? I don't know. It's disposable stuff, right? Like, oh man, you know, he really spoke to me as a character. Jurassic World's on there, 7th highest grossing film of all time. Like, you know, it's not really the Criterion Collection. It's not really the best barometer for cultural impact. Absolutely. And you know, the Dark Knight's 15 years old. Another thing you notice when you look at the top 10 highest grossing of all time is that they're all relatively recent. Maybe it's something to do with inflation and it's not really accurate, and maybe it's not adjusted for inflation perfectly. And the only film older than 10 years on there is Titanic from 1997. And you know, of course, James Cameron has 3 films on the top 10 highest grossing films of all time, so it's almost like he's like the only person on there who's actually a filmmaker, because like no one's ever, that record's never going to be beaten. But you know, Dark Knight's from a different time. It predates the MCU. It's kind of actually a film compared to most of the MCU. I wouldn't you know, he definitely has more cultural impact than Barbie's going to have in 3 or 4 years.
For sure. And it'll be interesting to see, because like, again, we're seeing grandparents take their daughters and their granddaughters to see this film, right? Like there's huge generations of people who have grown up with Barbie, or there's generations of men who grew up with sisters that grew up with Barbies, or those men that liked playing with Barbies. Like, it doesn't really matter, but it's cool to see the impact that it's had. Jose, would you collect from the Barbie film if you had the opportunity to do so? If Mattel released the line, what do you think?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, I like the movie and I like the characters. I don't know if it'd be enough for me to, you know, then I would get Margot Robbie Barbie, and then the Ryan Gosling Ken, and like the whole deal. Like, I don't know if it would fit the collection. It'd be cool to see if they did that. I don't personally think they would, though. Personally.
The reason I ask is, you know, I've noticed a lot of collectors, and I think maybe, you know, Chris nailed it with the recency bias. Mm-hmm. It's fresh in people's minds. People are like, oh, I'd love to collect from that. I wonder if they actually would, though, if it was ever an option. You know, like once you see the dollar amount there, and it's like, okay, now if I collect one, I have to have a companion piece, and then suddenly you're gonna get a pink vehicle, and like, you know, maybe a Barbie house, or like I don't know. I haven't seen the film yet, but I don't know. Could be cool. I think people are saying they would get it. I don't think they would actually get it most of the time. But I was really happy to hear that Greta Gerwig is being so well recognized for this film, despite it being, you know, the strike that's happening with Hollywood right now. I feel like she's not getting recognized as well as she should be. But a huge accomplishment. Pete, quick to you. What are your thoughts on Barbie finally beating out The Dark Knight? Do you feel like it's a cultural phenomenon? Do you think it's just because it was really fun to go and see for everybody? And do you think it'll have the staying power in terms of a potential franchise in the future, like others have?
Yeah, I don't know. I think. I mean, I haven't actually seen it yet. I might actually be seeing it on Wednesday with the missus, so I might finally be able to see what it's all about. But I think it's been touched on in the chat here. Anything that is about to overtake Last Jedi is good in my book. So it's only a couple away from that. I think it's probably got. I mean, I don't know how it all ends or anything. I haven't seen it, but I think it's definitely got franchise potential, and it does seem to have really kind of invigorated the cinema again. And, you know, it was quite good fun when I went to see Oppenheimer, to see, you know, the sea of like people dressed in pink, all you know, running towards the Barbie showings and stuff. So it's definitely you know, keen into something, and you know, it's difficult to say whether it will still be a thing in 20 years, but I think there's definitely going to be at least a couple of sequels off the back of this, not you know, just because of the money maker potential, really. And no, I wouldn't collect anything from it. I think you've asked me that before. I'm not going to get dragged into that.
I'm gonna keep asking until you say yes, buddy. Okay?
No. I have to keep a clear distinction between collectible action figures and dollies.
Absolutely. Big Dog Pound in the chat says the best 2023 movies this year: John Wick 4, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Super Mario Bros, and Barbie was on the list. You'd love to see it. Guys, let us know in the chat. What do you think of Barbie being this kind of cultural phenomenon? Have you seen it yet? Did you dress in pink when you went? Or, if you haven't seen it yet, have you ever gone to a movie dressed up? Because I don't think I ever actually have. The one time I almost went to a Rocky Horror Picture showing dressed up, but I missed that event. So that was about the only time. But what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments of Barbie and Batman and the film. Guys, let's move on. Strays. The foul-mouthed dogs teach humans a few new tricks in the original talking dog comedy. Now, this one stars, of course, Will Ferrell and several other, comedians, of course. I haven't seen it yet. I've heard mixed reviews. The critics are saying this is not that great. Some people who have seen it that really like raunchy style comedy have said it's awesome and hilarious. For me, I feel like I'm kind of lukewarm whether I'll see it or not. What it reminds me of, though, and it reminds me of such like a nice, heartwarming movie. What the heck was it called now? Now it's on the tip of my tongue. Homeward Bound. It reminds me of Homeward Bound. You guys remember that movie back when all the dogs were talking to each other and everything? Love that film. And and then the second one, I think where they get lost in the city and they have to make their way back. I've not seen that film in a really long time. I feel like this would give me notes of that, except with really raunchy ass comedy. Shane, is this a film you think you're thinking?
Original one. Sorry. As I said, there's one from the 70s as well. You remember that one?
I don't remember that
one.
One.
A Disney one from the 70s, and then you're talking about the ones with the more recent ones, aren't you? With sort of in the 90s, something like that.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things to think about.
Yeah.
Sorry, buddy. Sorry, it sounds like there's a bit of a delay. One of my favorite things to think about when it comes to animals speaking is just their level of intelligence. Shane, you just got a puppy in your own house.
Yeah.
Whenever you look at your little puppy, are you ever like wondering like, what does he think of me? What does he think of what happens in this household? Does it make a movie like this more appealing to you if you're a dog owner? What are your thoughts?
No, this doesn't make it, no, definitely not. Like, no, there's no connection there. But like, just to answer your question about, yeah, because I do myself and Megan be kind of going, do you think he likes us? Like, do you think he's happy here? Because when we went to pick him up, like there was himself and his two brothers, and they were all tiny and they were all adorable, like, and the owner breeder introduced us to like the mother and father and stuff like that. It's beautiful looking dogs, and then we had to take him away from his little brothers and his mother and father, and I felt really, I did feel a bit of empathy and guilt, like, and I was thinking, Jesus, I hope he's all right, like, and will he miss them? But he seems really happy, like, and it seems absurd, but I'd be thinking, I wonder, does he actually remember his brothers, sisters, or anything like that?
Yeah.
That sounds ridiculous because at a few weeks old as a human, you remember nothing, like, so I'm guessing he doesn't. But it just you do want your puppy to be happy, like, it's so.
What make is he? And what kind of dog is he?
He's a King Charles Spaniel. He's like,
oh wow,
he's good for the soul, man. He's so much fun.
Yeah,
I had a Cocker Spaniel once named Seamus. He was a great puppy.
Seamus.
Yeah.
This is the first I've heard of this movie. So I don't know anything about it. Like, I mean, but the fact that I have a puppy wouldn't like influence me either way to go see a movie about dogs. I'd have to like the look of it or the trailer.
That's fair. The Life of Pets got me to watch that. Like, got me to watch that one because of my affection for cats. Chris, are you a pet owner? Does this film make you want to watch it if you are, or is this going to be one that you skip in terms of entertainment news?
Yeah, I got a cat that's like 11, and she's a character. She looks slightly evil, but she's got a cone on her head for the last month, so she's even funnier. But at first I've heard of this as well. But I'm guessing they employed some visual effects to make it actually look like they're talking. When you mentioned Homeward Bound, I was like, oh man, the good old days when they would literally just put a voice track over a shot of a dog doing nothing, and that'd be good enough. There's no animation of the mouth or anything. They're just like, yeah, this is his. They're all telepathic. And just accept it, audience. Yep. And they do, and they do. But like, something tells me the standard of edgy for like Hollywood comedies has gone down like a 90-degree nosedive. So like something tells me it's not as edgy as they're making it sound. But I'm mildly intrigued.
Absolutely. I'll stick with Thomas for the next subject here, quick, and then Jose and Pete. So Suits achieves the 13th biggest week ever recorded on Nielsen streaming in the top 10. Suits has been making a serious comeback when it comes to streaming world. And I didn't necessarily want to talk about this show specifically, but my question for you, Pete, first is, now that there's all these Hollywood strikes, there might be a little bit of a slowdown with regards to content. I've started going back and watching older shows, and so I've recently been watching Lost again with Hannah, and we've been having a good time with that. What show would you recommend people go back and revisit if they potentially haven't seen it in the past? One of your favorite shows from the past, now that we've got this potential dry spell coming.
Oh, that's just too much. I'm like yourself. I'm a big Lost fan. I always enjoyed Lost, and I don't think the sixth season maybe felt a little bit rushed and wasn't to everyone's liking, but I think it was certainly a better last season than Game of Thrones. So I think my three would be Lost, probably Game of Thrones, because the content in the preceding 7 seasons or whatever was good enough to still recommend it, and something like Breaking Bad. If you've never seen any of those shows, and then maybe going back a long way, something like X-Files. I was a massive X-Files fan. I don't know how it might look a bit dated, some of it now, but I keep meaning to go back and watch Lost, so maybe I will.
Love it. Honestly, we're about halfway through the first season right now and having a great time with it. A lot of people have told me Better Call Saul. Blaze and Asians mentioning that in the chat. I've heard some good things. I love Breaking Bad. I've seen a single episode of Better Call Saul yet. The Wire, I've been told, a lot of people have told me, like, you have to see The Wire. Jose, what about you? Is there any hidden gems from the past that you think if people have missed it, they should go back and watch if there's a bit of a Hollywood slowdown coming up?
For me, one of the shows I remember I caught on to it kind of towards the end of its like final season, Mad Men with John Hamm.
Okay. Yeah,
I really liked that show. It's kind of a slow burn. It's really a character study of John Hamm's character of Don Draper and kind of his struggles with family and work. But yeah, I would definitely recommend Mad Men. That's a show that, like I said, it's a slow burn, but it's kind of stays with you, man, in terms of everything he goes through and the things that he does. He's kind of, I guess the best way I could describe him, he's kind of not really a protagonist. He's kind of an anti-hero because he does really terrible things. So I guess like a Breaking Bad, like kind of vibe, because he does a lot of bad things. Not to that extreme of Walter White, but he does things that are not right. And you kind of understand what he's doing, but at the same time, you're like, dude, why? He's like, I remember watching episodes and being like, dude, like, why are you getting drunk? Go home to your family. You know what I mean? So
interesting.
That's one of the shows for sure.
Interesting. By the way, Pete, you mentioned here a little UK flavor. Have you ever watched Little Britain? I don't know if that's actually UK flavor necessarily, but I love Little Britain.
Yeah.
Makes me laugh pretty good. All good picks though, Jose, for sure. For sure. Thomas, what hidden gem show do you think people should watch if they've missed it? If there's a Hollywood slowdown coming up?
Well, I actually have 3 that I would kind of call up. 2 of them have the same main actor in it, and of course that would be Dexter, with the character who played Dexter. That's really good. I also would recommend. He was in the same in another show on HBO called 6 Feet Under, where there were morticians, and they would all start off every episode with someone dying in some weird way, and then it would tie into the story. I mean, just just a really interesting and intriguing show. And my third actually is a British comedy from the 70s called Are You Being Served? That show cracked. I used to watch that on PBS all the time. I even went out and bought the box set. It was and I'm sorry, there is one more British show that I like, Absolutely Fabulous. Those two British shows are by far, they crack me up beyond measure. And especially that on Are You Being Served, that Mrs. Slocum, who she always would say, she would always say something like, that is my opinion, and I am unanimous in this. I mean, she, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. But I think those are my favorites that I could watch anytime and just be really happy.
Decent picks, buddy. Trailer Park Boys is obviously one of mine as well. Quantum Leap. If anybody's ever seen Quantum Leap, I think they'll know what I mean. It's a great show. I don't know how well it would age in some of its effects, but love the story concept there. Also, Battlestar Galactica is one of my favorite all-time sci-fi shows for sure. Shane or Chris, do you have any more to add that you think people have to watch if they potentially have missed it?
You want to go first, Chris?
Hey, yeah, I mean, it's a pretty short list for me. I feel like we're almost past the golden era of this sort of thing. Showtime and HBO, where some of the best shows that you now have to look at streaming, premiered on network television, for example. I don't know if there's been something quite as good as Breaking Bad in the last 10 years. But even if you go back to The Sopranos, they tried a little bit harder than people are now, I think, narratively. And I think it's a big part of the equation is, do they know where they're going with the series, or is it sort of a season to season, we can extend it if possible sort of thing? And I think that's where you run into problems like what you're seeing on Disney Plus with The Mandalorian season 3, for example, where narratively it's very disconnected from season 1 and 2, and they're just well, we know that we're mandated to have Mandalorian and Baby Yoda going on adventures, even though we sort of ended that story already. I guess we'll just write more of it and it will feel directionless, and as it does. So I don't know. I didn't know Suits was even still going on. I think that's filmed here in Toronto, but
it's made a huge return. So I think the series actually ended, but
now
now people are just randomly watching it on streaming all of a sudden again. And now it's exploded in streaming, done some crazy numbers. And so it's a show that I always used to get confused with Mad Men, actually. I think mostly because they're all in Suits, depending on how I see the screen title.
I've run into reels of little clips from this show. So it's the guy super smooth and yada yada. So it's I'll see reels or little shorts, things like that. So I've seen things about the show, but I've never seen the show.
Yeah, well, and it's interesting because earlier, Shane, you mentioned Avatar, how you haven't met somebody that's a massive Avatar fan necessarily. They like it, but nothing crazy. But my Avatar short on my YouTube channel, The Ben Thomas Show, is my most viewed short of all time in my channel. It got 95,000 views, and is a split audience of men to women. I think the women ratio is 48%, and the male is obviously the other side, and which is pretty impressive when it comes to YouTube. So clearly, there's a huge population of people out there interested, and those are the McFarlane versions. No 6 scale in it at all. What about you, Shane? Is there
making Barbie reels now for the rest of the week, lads? That's it.
Literally,
those numbers up.
Literally, add Barbie to every short. Yeah, anything that we have to see, Shane, from your perspective.
Look, a lot of the fantastic ones that I would have said, not hidden gems, but they're just, I would say, is must-see TV, have been mentioned, the likes of Sopranos and Breaking Bad. I think Breaking Bad is probably what I would name as the best TV series I've ever seen, as a start to finish. Just told the story right from the start, and ended it. I thought they ended it very well, but I'm always jealous of when people say they haven't seen it, and I'm like, God, just push through the first season. It's slow, but it needs to be, and it will pay off. So my picks then, Black Mirror. I think it's one of the best TV shows, one of the smartest TV shows out there at the moment. Dark, It's an anthology series, so every single episode is a different cast, different characters. It kind of, I suppose the theme is like technology and the future and how it can be dark and how it can be used. Really, really interesting. You can watch them in any order. So maybe if you're watching it with your other half or someone a bit squeamish, don't start off with the first season, episode 1. You might get to episode 2. If you do watch the first season, episode 1, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I'm going to leave that with that. So Black Mirror would be one. In terms of like Chris was saying, we're past the golden age. I would challenge that. I would disagree. There are still TV shows out there that have like, you know, a full story in mind. And the next one, recommendation, Peaky Blinders. May be tough for Americans with the strong. It's a Birmingham accent, isn't it, Pete?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a Birmingham accent. And even myself, like I have to watch it with the subtitles because, you know, it's so well done, the accents, and sometimes like they talk fast or shout or it's a bit mumbly, which adds to the kind of, I suppose, the effect and the vibe they're going for. Well worth the watch. Cillian Murphy is the lead in that. It's about kind of, I suppose, gangsters in Birmingham, I think in the Industrial Revolution. Fantastic TV. The last one then, it's a relatively recent one, not comic book related or anything like that. 1883, 1923, and Yellowstone. Some of the best TV I've seen in a long time. Yellowstone is 5 seasons, follows a ranch in America, and then 1883 is a prequel to that, and then 1923 is in between it. Just damn good television, good characters, good story. And if anyone hasn't seen Father Ted, it's a comedy.
Go on.
It's a comedy based 3 Catholic priests living in a parochial house on an island off Ireland. It would not be made today, but it's damn good television.
Father Ted.
Father Ted, I feel it's just really good. There was one other one that was in my head, might come to me, but yeah, that's
I started watching Peaky Blinders, by the way, because I'm friends with you, and I was like, well, if I can understand Shane, I'll probably be able to get through the show pretty good. And
you think?
Nope. Definitely need the subtitles. 100%.
Have you stuck with it? Where
I'm about halfway through the first season. Like, I haven't gotten into it too much yet, but just trying to find the time. But I've enjoyed it, though. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Second and third season, I think. The first season was solid, and then second and third, you're just like, you start to know Arthur a bit more, and you know the characters. Yeah, it's very good.
Well, and I was, of course, like Cillian Murphy was just recently in Oppenheimer, so like I was kind of wanting to see something else with him again to see his acting chops, and so yeah, put it on, and it's been a good watch. Definitely been a good watch.
I remembered it, Ben. Sorry, I remembered it. The original Office with Ricky Gervais,
yes,
the 2 seasons,
100%.
and the Christmas special. If you cringe easily, you'll hate every minute of it. It is fantastic.
I've heard that they're thinking about doing another Office set in Australia, I believe, but I'd be curious to see how that one goes. So,
hey Ben, can I throw 2 more at you? One is a series and one is a movie.
Okay.
The movie is I think it was from like 1991 or so with the Reese Witherspoon. It's called Freeway. That movie, she plays a juvenile delinquent who lives in a trailer park, and she's trying to go to see her grandma. It has Kiefer Sutherland in it, where he picks her up and he's trying to he pervs out on her. So she I can't remember how she did it, but she just effed him completely up. And then they find out that he was like a serial killer or something like that. That would prey on young women. But she messed up. She wound up going to juvenile hall. She beat up all the girls in juvenile hall. She beat up all. I mean, it is a complete train wreck of but it's one of the best movies. I've never seen Reese Witherspoon play that kind of role before. And then the show is actually another British show, but it's called Misfits, and that one is a show about about maybe 5 or 6 people that were on. They were having to do civic duty. They basically were showing up at a community center with their probation officer because they had to clean up parks and stuff. And there was this some sort of a storm that happened that electrocuted them, and then they all wound up with these weird superpowers. Like one guy would just disappear, and he'd just be sitting there, and nobody would know he was there. There's this one girl who was completely. I mean, I could hardly understand her accent, but she wound up being a rocket scientist. There was this one girl who, if you touched her skin, anybody who touched her immediately wanted to have sex with her. And I mean, they all had these really screwed up, weird powers, and it is one of the funniest shows. And then at the end of every episode, they accidentally wind up killing their probation officer. So then they have to find out how to hide his body. And I mean, it's a wacky show, but I think that was on. It was a streaming show, but I think it's called The Misfits. And I have more fun with that TV show. It's crazy. Sometimes it doesn't make any sense, but it is hilarious.
Crazy. And sorry, what was that one called again?
I think The Misfits.
The Misfits. Okay.
Yeah,
Interesting.
it was a Channel 4 show in the UK.
Channel
Yeah, it was really
4.
good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, Shane, my question for you here is regards to Blue Beetle. So DC Studios' Blue Beetle claimed the #1 spot despite a softer than expected debut of $25.4 million, just essentially ending the Barbie streak of having the highest box office results for the weekend. Curious, do you feel like if this comes in with some lackluster reception, people have been saying that it's a good movie and that it's enjoyable, do you feel like this is an indication of what we're going to see from James Gunn's new DCEU, or do you feel like this is kind of a wrap-up of the past and people can decide to skip this if they choose to and still feel like they're going into James Gunn's universe fresh? What do you think?
I don't think James Gunn knows the answer to that.
Okay.
Like, it's originally, this isn't part of it, and this and Aquaman were supposed to be the last one. Then there was a reshuffle, and everyone's getting reshuffled. And then there was like, Gal Gadot's back, but she's not back. It was confirmed. It was just rumors. And then he's saying he's keeping this guy. You're probably asking the wrong person. I have absolutely no ideas, and absolutely no idea. And I don't have an interest in seeing this. I really don't.
That's fair. No, that's fair. What about you, Jose? Do you feel like if this gets a bit of a warm reception, lukewarm call it, like people are liking it, some people are saying it's okay, do you think it's going to impact James Gunn's universe going forward, or do you feel like you can leave this one in the past and still get excited about that new universe coming?
So I've seen the movie. It's definitely enjoyable.
Okay.
I would say that the way that they set this movie up, it's such a movie that exists in this, with no spoilers, but exists within a small pocket, that they set it up in a way where I believe it has to do with the fact of the rotating door of all these different characters and all this different regime, that they didn't want to tie it to any other franchise. They didn't want to cameo. They didn't want to put names out. They didn't want to do anything that might tie it to another franchise. So they made it into a single story that James Gunn can easily say, oh, this character will continue on in this new DCU universe.
So they can retcon it in or retcon it out, depending on kind of its standalone story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that what happens here is something like, it's such a smaller scale story that I believe that it'd be very easy for them to say that existed in a small pocket of his universe. So absolutely.
I don't know much about Blue Beetle, honestly, even as a character. Pete, did you have a take on Blue Beetle? How are you going to see this film in theaters? One you're going to wait for streaming on? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't really grab me from the trailer point of view. I probably won't see it at the cinema. I'll wait for streaming. Yeah, I'm kind of a bit done with superheroes for now. I appreciate it might be a good movie, and I'll watch it on streaming. But yeah, I don't think I'll be paying to see it just yet.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. Let us know, guys, in the chat as well. Has this a movie you've seen already? Try to keep it spoiler-free if possible. Was it worth seeing in theaters? Do you feel like it's one that could wait for streaming? Also, does it impact your thinking on what we'll see from James Gunn's universe, or are you like Jose? Do you feel like it stands alone on its own terms? I'd love to hear from you guys down below. Now, Chris, you are part of a smaller scale channel as well. Not a smaller scale channel, but a small scale collecting show with Collecting Weekly occasionally called Small Talk. And this popped up in my feed the other day. So it says here, Street Sharks to make a comeback at Mattel. And it says 30 years after launching the line of the action figures from 1994, it's looking like they may make a return. Now, these were the guys that were in my collection and toy room back in the day, and I freaking loved these guys. They had like a kind of like a rubbery texture on the outside for their skin over the endoskeleton. Very cool. What do you think about Street Sharks making a toy return?
Yeah, well, I'm traumatized that they came out 30 years ago. I had a couple of these too. That's insane to think about. But you know, like it feels like one of those things I probably got it from my aunt or grandma. Like I never asked for a Street Shark. You know, I was like, get me some more Star Wars figures, please.
You got Street Shark
I don't
instead.
need. Yeah, Street Shark's like a bootleg knockoff Ninja Turtle or something. I don't know what the heck's going on with these guys. I heard they're coming back. Like there's kind of a fun idea, but like you know, as like I do collect some consumer grade small action figures, but this is not going to make the cut. But you know, the most interesting thing about the Street Sharks is the Vin Diesel at Toy Fair when they first launched on YouTube. Check it out, Vin Diesel hawking Street Sharks at the Toy Fair booth on YouTube in the early 90s.
That's awesome.
But other than that, you know, it'd be interesting to see what they do. I wonder if they'll be this exact same style with the rubber components and all that. I think that'd be the move, but who knows? They'll probably just make them different and not as good.
Jose, were you ever a Street Sharks fan back in the day? Is this one that you get excited about or put in your collection?
No, I think my brother, who's a little older than me, he had a few of them. I think I remember seeing them. I personally never had any, but these are cool.
They were really cool, and they honestly still have some like holding power when it comes to the dollar amount. I've tried to pick these guys up on like eBay and stuff like that after the fact, and they're not necessarily cheap to get, or they're like covered in crayon or like, you know, all the shit, right? So I would consider definitely putting this back in my collection for sure. Now, Chris, I want to stay with you on this next piece here. I'm moving along a little quick here because we still have quite a bit of figure news on the way here, guys, so stick around for sure. If you can, hit the like button if you haven't already. Definitely helps the channel for sure. I wanted to bring this up and shout out to I_am_no_Jedi from Reddit, as well as Instagram handle Devin_Devin.Accardo. He posted this recently, and I actually started following this list because I'm getting really excited about the Ahsoka show coming up. And I wanted to share this with you guys and the community of people watching. If you don't know where to start in order to beef up your memory and knowledge of the Ahsoka character and her surrounding cast. So Chris, based on what you've seen from the shows, both the Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, do you feel like this is a decent list if you're familiar with any of these episodes? If not, is there anything that you feel like we have to watch as Star Wars fans to get excited about Ahsoka?
I mean, I guess essentially what you're gonna get, and from the early non-spoiler reviews, the impression I've got is that this is essentially a new season of Star Wars Rebels. So, you know, if you want to save yourself some time, I would watch like the last 2 or 3 of Rebels and just call it a day at that. But you know, I might be one of the wrong people to ask, because as far as I'm concerned, this character should be canonically long dead. So like, you know, it's just like they had opportunities. You know, I mean, she leaves the Order very famously near the end of Clone Wars, and you know, as a fan at that time, we all thought that was because, well, we got to explain like why she's not around for the original trilogy. They've since decided that it's not important to explain why she's not around for the original trilogy, because she could have just easily been a great asset to Luke Skywalker at that time period, but she was, you know, at the cottage or something during that whole period. So, you know, I think it's I think Filoni's flying too close to the sun. I think he's literally in love with his own character, and that she's going to be invincible. And I hope for the best. I want to stay optimistic, but I don't know. I think it's going to be like the quality of Mandalorian season 1 and 2, but narratively speaking, I I have trouble with this character still being around in a post Return of the Jedi world, but it's going to be fun to see Thrawn in live action. So I'm excited for that. And, watch the last 2 or 3 episodes of Rebels beforehand.
Absolutely. I feel like there is a lot riding on the Ahsoka series, though, in order to keep the love for Star Wars alive, because of kind of the lackluster response we've seen from Mando season 3, like you said, and some of the other Star Wars movies in the last decade. Some people love them, some people hate them, but I think in order to kind of rejuvenate that love that we were seeing, when season 1 of Mando came out, at that point, when season 1 of Mando came out, Star Wars was dead for a lot of people. Nobody was talking about it anymore, and it really reinvigorated the world of Star Wars. It has been kind of trending back towards people not caring anymore. I think a lot rides on Ahsoka. What do you think, Shane? Do you feel like if Ahsoka fails, is that it for Star Wars for a while, or do you think that they're going to continue to try and force feed content otherwise? What are your thoughts?
I think if Ahsoka flops, Disney Plus could have bigger problems. We'll say. I'm not going to say if Ahsoka bombs out that's game over, but I mean, I think a lot of these companies, these streaming platforms, when they set up, they actually don't turn a profit for a few years. Now Mando season 1 and 2 were absolute wins. Andor was a win, but it wasn't necessarily I don't think it was a big commercial kind of win. A lot of people were they either loved it or they hated it. You know what I mean? I loved that a lot of people hated it, but it didn't captivate a big proportion of fans like Mandalorian did. Book of Boba Fett obviously flopped. Kenobi, a lot of people didn't like. I do think there's a lot of pressure on this, but my expectations are low. I want to like it. I really like Ahsoka, and I really, really like Rosario Dawson playing Ahsoka, and Chris is saying obviously he's watched. I imagine, Chris, you've watched all the Rebels and all Clone Wars, yeah. So you're more invested in it because you've seen them and found those shows, whereas I'm working my way through. I'm just starting season 5 of Clone Wars. I don't want to skip anything. I wanted to watch it all, and I'm starting to enjoy it now. But yeah, my point is, I can put aside that kind of, okay, she's alive, but she shouldn't be canonically, because I wasn't invested in Rebels and Clone Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing it. I really want it to be good. If it's at the Mando season 1 and 2 standard, that would be fantastic. But I don't know, are they going to strike? I have a bad feeling, to be honest. No bad feeling about this. That seems appropriate, but
nice.
I want to be wrong. The same way, I don't think the N1 Starfighter is going to be released, but I want to be wrong.
Me too, man.
Oh, I mean, I want to be wrong just so Mario still has to shave his beard. That's the one piece that I'm most waiting for. Let's be honest. What about you, Jose? What about you, Jose? I know you've obviously got a lot of Marvel in behind you in DC in terms of figure collecting. We saw here in the comments Maximum saying Ahsoka's carrying Star Wars, Loki carrying MCU. Do you feel like the pressure is on Ahsoka to be able to crush this in order to keep the interest for Star Wars, similar to how Loki is with MCU, or do you feel like that pressure will just go away if another movie comes out or something? What do you think?
I think the pressure there's definitely pressure there for sure. I think that because the last couple of Disney Plus shows have struggled, especially numbers wise in terms of the people tuning in, I think there's definitely pressure for this to be a good season, and I think it's going to be hard because just looking at this list, there's going to be people that are like, I don't know if I can do all that, and then they're going to feel overwhelmed not knowing what's going on. They're going to feel like they're being dropped into a situation they're not aware of. I personally have seen Clone Wars and Rebels and read the Thrawn trilogy, so I'm excited about it and a little nervous, but I want to get that bad energy. Shane, come on, man, let's get that bad energy out of here, and let's be positive.
That's not bad energy. That's just, I'm calling it a spade, guys. You know what I mean?
I want it.
Not
You're like MJ in the No Way Home, where she's like, "Oh, don't expect." You know that line she would say? He's like,
I'm not sure how I feel about being compared about a woman that stunning who's half my age, but I'll take it.
But she says that line, remember? Where
Yeah,
she's
I know
like,
what you mean.
Don't expect it, then you won't be disappointed, yada yada. So that's your mentality, and I totally get that. That's how I was with the anime.
It's not necessarily my mentality, though. I'll tell you why. Mandalorian season 1 and 2, they set the expectations. They set the standard. So when I went looking at Mandalorian season 3, that's the standard I expected. It weren't my expectations. They were, that's the bar you set, and I don't think, in my opinion, they hit that bar. And then they dropped the ball, I think, on Book of Boba and Kenobi, whereas there was aspects of those shows that I liked. Overall, I think they did drop the ball. So, Jose, it's not necessarily that I have bad energy, it's just that I'm just looking at the data they provided me. Do you know what I mean? So, like, again,
I get you.
Maybe it's
I feel like, let's
easier
be positive,
if my
let's be
expectations are low to enjoy it.
I feel the
Yeah.
same way. But I'm like, let's be positive about it. Let's see. Hopefully, fingers crossed. This is good.
Well, and I feel optimistic because I haven't seen all of these episodes yet. I haven't read the Thrawn trilogy yet. So, like, a lot of my introduction to a character like Thrawn will be through this show. So I'm kind of like malleable. I can be pushed in the positive direction, or I can decide I don't love it after the fact. But if you're such a fan of like these shows and that book trilogy and all of that, I could see it being hard to keep your expectation a little squashed, because people really love it, especially Rebels. Like, everybody talks about how good Rebels is, right? And so
Yeah.
let us know, guys, in the chat. Give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Are you excited about Ahsoka? Or do you feel like your expectations are low, like Shane going into it, or do you feel like your expectations are kind of high? And do you think that they'll be able to maintain some quality in order to keep the excitement for Star Wars? I'd like to hear from you guys below. Chris, did you have one last thing to say on that?
Yeah, well, I just noticed that they're advising that you watch Tales of the Jedi on here. I could not disagree more.
Okay.
So
Okay.
just
Good to
saying,
know.
you
Save
know,
myself some time.
there's an episode of Tales of the Jedi where they're just like, Ahsoka is Jesus. So it's a bit much.
I think it's
but
the
alright.
first episode, the episode 1, Life and Death. I think it's that one. You can skip
Yeah.
those. I would actually just
Yeah.
say you could just watch maybe a few episodes of Rebels, like Chris was saying. That's what I would recommend, honestly, so that you're familiar with the characters you're going to meet in the show: Hera, Chopper, Sabine, and so you're familiar with those characters, and you kind of have that familiarity. And then when you watch the show, you're like, oh, okay. So it's because what they're describing in the reviews as these live action interpretations are basically the animated versions in live action, right? So that's how they're describing it. So hopefully, I haven't seen it, but hopefully they are, and they do translate well. So.
And Rosario's a badass, let's be honest.
Yeah.
So
Are they
I'll
gonna have
show
those-
up just for her.
Are they going to have those fun little droids that they had the new figures on in this show, or is
No.
that part of something else?
You talking about the pit droid and R5?
Yeah.
That's Mandalorian season 3.
Oh, okay. Because I like those. If I could see them in there, I'd definitely watch it. Because I like that little one with the mushroom head.
Well,
Thomas-
pit droids are good. They're from episode 1, the classic film.
Thanks for that clarity. Yeah, Chris, definitely appreciated. Thomas, I didn't get your take on this one, but I want your take first on this next question that I have, and then let's get into some figure news, guys. But this relates to collecting, and it relates to 6-scale collecting especially, and figures, and collecting in general. What is the best collecting advice you've ever received, Thomas?
I've never really received any advice. I mean, about collecting.
Even when you got started collecting or anything?
Yeah,
like that?
because when I started, well, I had purchased a few things off and on, but I really started collecting during the pandemic, and it was when the pandemic first started, and I really I was not plugged into any community. I would just see some cool figures and I say, hey, that looks good, and I would order it because, again, when the pandemic had first started, I was still at the end of my recovery from my surgery. So I've been a year of just isolated, and then I was isolated more because of the pandemic, and I just needed stuff coming in, because there was something about getting those packages in the mail. The thing I did not know, which I kind of learned on my own, was that just because there is a figure that they have announced does not mean that it's out yet. And so what happened is that I wound up with a lot of figures because I kept ordering figures and they weren't coming in. So I said, well, let me order another figure. Maybe that one will come in quicker. So after a while, I wasn't getting any, but then all of a sudden they start coming in mass. So I learned that on my own. So the one thing that I would give advice on is be patient And if something says pre-order, expect it's going to come out in a year or two or more. Okay, because when they say pre-order, they mean pre-order. So yeah, but just be patient. But yeah, I've never received any individualized advice because I had already started buying before I ever got connected to any of the communities.
For sure. And you know what? Even still, that was a great answer, Thomas, because that actually happened to one of my good friends, Jeff. He just recently got into 1/6 scale collecting, and the first figure he decided to purchase was the Matrix Resurrections Neo figure, and he got it about a year ago. And he messaged me all excited to be like, guess what I've got on the way? The Matrix Neo. Like, how cool is that? And I was like, that is cool. Good for you, buddy. Like, congrats. But you're probably not going to see it for like a year. And he was like, what? He's like, I just ordered it. I'm like, yeah, but you got the pre-order. Like, we don't even really know if that date range is accurate at this point. Turns out it actually came a little sooner because they didn't clearly work on his glasses all that well. So they were like, just kick that shit out. But Shane, you are full of a lot of things. Advice certainly being one of them.
Shit, mostly.
Often,
Pete, you were thinking. I said it. I beat you to it.
That's pretty rude.
Oftentimes on your show, good sir, you give lots of great, I want to say advice. I don't think you always call it advice because you don't want to set anybody in the wrong direction if it doesn't work for them. But what's one of the best pieces of advice, even as a new collector when you were first getting into YouTube, something that somebody told you that stuck with you that we could help new collectors with?
You can't have everything.
Fair.
That's it. You can't have everything. I mean, space and money.
Space and money.
Jeddah, I always liked Jeddah's catchphrase, collect what you like. I will go a step further and say collect what you love. I pass on a lot of things I like to collect the things I love. I pass on a lot of things that look cool to collect the things you love. Figure out what you love and go after that and just avoid the FOMO. Easier said than done.
Absolutely, absolutely. And actually, my friend Hannah called that as being one answer today that might get brought up because I asked her what she thought her advice would be, and it was collect what you love, which I think was interesting as she sat here, surrounded by all the shit that I clearly love, right? So, Jose, same question for you, and great answer, by the way, Shane. Thank you for that, buddy. Jose, what do you think? What was one of the best pieces of advice you got when it came to collecting or collecting in the YouTube sphere or collecting just in general?
In general, one of the things a friend of mine used to always tell me is like, because I would show him prototypes of the Hot Toys, and he would tell me, okay, is this character essential to the collection you already have? Is it not just a companion piece? Are you not just getting this particular figure because you have the Iron Man and you want War Machine because it's the Iron Man, so on and so forth? So he's like, do you really love War Machine, or do you just want to get the War Machine because it'll look nice to the Iron Man? So he's like, try to get a figure that you love equally as much as the Iron Man, and kind of make it work that way. And then another piece of advice that I've gotten is basically keep a tab of everything you're pre-ordering. Make a list, make spreadsheets, whatever it works for you, right? I have this little document where I have pictures of all the prototypes, and then I have the estimated date of arrival. So that's my way of kind of pinpointing it. I'll be like, oh, these are my Marvel pre-orders, Star Wars, DC, whatever it may be. So I'd highly recommend that you keep a spreadsheet of some sort to know what you're ordering and when it's going to come, because that might hit you with like some bricks. So be ready for them.
Absolutely, well said too, because that's actually one of my key takeaways was create like not only a budget with regards to your collecting, but also a way to track it. When I first heard that piece of advice, I was only buying one figure at a time for the most part. So I was always like, I'm never going to need to be able to track that. But over the last year, and especially with these quick waitlist conversions that we're seeing with Hot Toys through different distributors like Sideshow, it's made me pre-order more than I've ever pre-ordered before because I didn't want to miss on any of these characters that I definitely needed in my collection. But now I've got 10 pre-orders and 10 different payment plans. So what I've ended up doing is not only tracking what figures are open, but also actually literally putting into my calendar the dates that those payments are supposed to come out. So when I'm getting paid, I can make sure that I've got the funds there on the credit card or wherever to come off of on those payment dates. So actually literally taking all my payment plans and physically putting them into my phone calendar, and it's helped me stay ahead of it and made me not feel overwhelmed as you progressively get through some of those payments. Chris, what about you? Any collecting tips that you were ever given back in the day? I know you collect various things. I don't even know everything that's in your collection, honestly, at this point. But
Well, it's such a personal thing, right? Like, and I have some thoughts, but it doesn't really apply to everybody. Like I'm really still pretty focused on the vintage Star Wars stuff that came out from like 78 to 85, and like with that stuff, you have a whole host of concerns that you don't have with stuff like Hot Toys. At least most Hot Toys, which is like condition plays like a massive factor. Where because you're talking about bits of cardboard that are older than most of us on this call, right? So it's stuff gets dinged up, and I remember early on when I started collecting vintage Star Wars, I was meeting up a greasy Kijiji Tim Hortons parking lot deal for some vintage Star Wars.
Timmy Host, love it.
Yeah, and the guy had opened his trunk, and there's 20 odd figures in there, and I'm picking out stuff I want, and he was like, well, if you're really interested in this stuff, you should probably just cut the stuff that's all dinged up, because like you might as well put your money into something that you're going to be proud that it's in your collection, and don't buy stuff just to be a placeholder if you're not really passionate about it, because those dinged up Return of the Jedi figures, they're going to be hard to move later on if you ever decide to. So be judicious with your resources is basically what it comes down to.
Great advice. Thanks for pitching in everybody there, guys. I love all of that. I feel like there's no necessarily right or wrong way to collect, but taking kind of the best things that work from everybody has definitely helped me, especially not getting overwhelmed, because the fear of missing out, but also just the fact that I'm like packed with nostalgia. I tease Shane for being full of a lot of things. I'm full of nostalgia all the time. That's the only thing. And chocolate nuts, honestly. I eat a lot of almonds. But there's been some great comments here in the chat. Let's look at a couple of them here.
Can I just add my one for this?
Of course.
Yeah, this is a.
Sorry, I thought I got you beat for some reason. I thought I got you.
No. I mean, I'm like a bit like Tom. I've been collecting for about 12 years now, so I kind of got into it without any of these shows or anything, and just kind of learnt my own lessons and the bits and pieces. But the one I would say is no matter how much you want the figure, no matter how much they offer you off the price, no matter how much they beg you, never ever buy anything from Toys Wonderland.
Oh God!
Pete, tell us how you really feel, man. Come on.
Yeah.
Which is funny
because somebody the Anakin.
Oh my God. Somebody told me that when I first started collecting, but I'd already ordered from them. So then I shit bricks for about a week because I was like, oh no, like I'm going to get scammed, like all these things, like, and the figures came and they were fine. But like, that was my experience. I know a lot of people have not had that experience.
Yeah,
so,
it seems to be getting worse and worse. I've like had one figure out of them and I got it. And Shane, you're all out now, aren't you? Wasn't Ahsoka your last one? Yeah.
I worry and we'll get into that when we start talking about the Anakin, but I worry about all these posts I saw with these new collectors, and they're like, I couldn't get the Anakin, so I ordered it off Toys Wonderland. Am I going to be okay? Oh gosh.
Sorry, your question. Yeah, I've I stopped buying from a long time ago, but it was that kind of thing where I had 2 or 3 things remaining after getting a full refund from the Joker. Not a store credit, actually got the refund. So if you're out there and you're having words with them, you can get a refund on your credit card. Just write to them with the order number, please ship this. If you don't, I'm just going to charge back my credit card. Usually that works. So there's one last thing with them. It's been paid off-roaded since it came out, really, that Batman and Bat Signal. So I might have that for Christmas 2024.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And again, we had some good comments here. 12-inch Moose Stream said, I started collecting Star Wars 4-inch in 98. I got so many. Joy was finding Vader with removable helmet. My buddy and I found one each at a TRU visit, TRU visit. I'm not sure what that is, actually.
Toys R Us.
Toys R Us, of course. Okay, fair. Nerd. I've got so many Toys R Us's here. You'd think I would know that at this point. Big Dog Pound 1 says, collecting is a marathon, not a sprint. Don't burn yourself out chasing everything. Kind of goes back to what Shane was saying, too. You can't have everything. That's been a hard one for some people. I know if you're a completionist at heart, that's extremely difficult. Talking about Devil's Workshop there at TW, my friend Jeff that I mentioned, who got that Neo figure, he also got the boys figure, the Butcher, from them, and it came with a completely smashed body. It was like all the arms, all the legs, everything inside the outfit was totally smashed. And so I had to run him through like how to get the outfit off so he could replace the figure body, because when he contacted the company, they offered no replacement, only a potential refund or store credit, which was shitty. And he wanted that figure. The head sculpt was still in good shape, so he stuck with his crushed body. But I felt bad about him for that. Andre says, "Best advice ever, Pete." So there you go. You had a fan there. So, and I don't want to get on them too much. It's controversial for a lot of people. But as I said, I don't want to give advice to anybody to buy from them or not. The 2 experiences that I've had buying from them have been positive, but as I said, 1 out of 2 experiences that my friend has had, 50% of that has been a shitty experience as well. So hard to say what the results look like. Guys, let's move into Hot Toys now, because we got the release, of course, of T'Challa from Black Panther, the original suit, Black Panther suit, updated here. And I've got this in order. I'm hoping this comes this week, to be honest. I'm hoping for my new This Week for Tuesday show. Did you get this already, Jose? Is this already in your... Oh, it's literally above you. That's amazing.
Right there.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing. See, so I got to start with you then, Jose. Like, tell me what you think of the figure in hand. Did it live up to your expectations? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, me and Mario had an unboxing on his channel on Friday. I actually had my first time unboxing a figure, and I did my best to.
I shouldn't smoke so much because I actually watched that stream. I thought you did a very good job, by the way.
Oh.
Mario's a little hard on you, but so you were really having a hard time getting the shield in his hand from my recollection.
Yes. But to judge generalize my thoughts in general, it's definitely an improvement. Just based on the photos, I never owned the first version, the original Civil War one, or the one from his solo film. So I never had either versions. I've seen them in person at like Frankensons and other places, but I've never had any of them. So this was kind of my first time in hand to have a Black Panther. But again, it was an improved body. Articulation was better. You can just like the Iron Man, you can kind of pull the legs slightly down for more extension and more articulation. That was cool. The accessories are cool. It bunches, but not as much, not as noticeable with this suit in particular because of the lines. I think it works really well. Just overall, pretty happy. Now we can talk about the head sculpt. Now the head sculpt is basically the exact one from the Solo movie. The paint maps from what I've been hearing are better, and when I look at it, I see Chadwick. I understand it's not perfect, and I would never pretend it is, but I'm satisfied overall.
Absolutely. Pete, do you feel like the community wasn't loud enough when it came to the head sculpt for this figure? I've seen a lot of people here, including, Tremble Dust in the chat, saying, 50-50 on the sculpt. I was kind of subtly hoping that they would make some improvements over the original option, but I didn't get my hopes up either because of what happened with my Doc Brown. I had hopes up that they'd change that one, and they didn't. So I didn't really think that they would, but I think a lot of the collector community was just kind of crossing their fingers, but not being as vocal maybe on this. What are your thoughts for Black Panther here? Do you feel like this was warranted, or should they have changed it?
So is it's exactly the same sculpt, is it?
It's the same.
Okay. Yeah, that's a bit disappointing because that's been quite some time between that figure and this one. No doubt the paint apps are stronger, but I think particularly as obviously him tragically passing away, I think he probably deserved a little bit more than just a recycled head sculpt. I don't mind it. I don't think it's bad. I know who it is. I think it's a good enough representation. There are obviously third-party options out there. I think they just could have made a bit more effort to kind of honour his memory, really. but it's not bad. It looks a decent figure.
Definitely. Is it one that you're thinking about picking up at some point for your collection, or not for you?
No, it's funny because I mean, I've got out the Marvel game quite a while ago, but it's one of those figures
Right.
where I almost kind of was tempted to buy it just as a kind of not that particularly his estate or anything would get much out of it, but just to it was such a tragic early death for him, and it's almost one of those figures where you feel like you could just have it as a standalone, as a kind of as a memory of Chadwick as much as the Black Panther character. But I didn't go for it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, rest in peace, rest in power.
Absolutely. One comment here from F. Wellington, just going back to the advice piece. I wanted to highlight this because it's great. Well said. It says, best advice, don't let the hobby become more important than taking care of the people who depend on you. This includes time and energy, not just your money. This stuff is just for fun. Well said, F. Wellington. I totally agree with that, good sir. Family is certainly important, and making sure you've taken care of your life before collecting, right? So with regards to T'Challa here, Shane, for me, I think one of the reasons I was subtly expecting to increase or improve the head sculpt at least was kind of like what Pete was saying, in terms of a bit of a commemorative figure for Chadwick Boseman after his passing. I would have thought that they would have paid a little bit more respect with the figure and given us something that's a little bit more commemorative, not just necessarily the original suit redone. What are your thoughts here on Chadwick's head sculpt? Do you feel like if this one comes to your collection, you're going to display it with the head sculpt or without, or would you seek a third-party option as well? Lots of questions.
I think it's the same head sculpt that came with the first one.
Yeah,
but I do think they seem to have updated the paint apps.
definitely.
I think this is better looking to me. I think with the paint apps they've got a bit closer to his likeness, but I still don't think it's like a 10 or a 9. Might give it a 7. Possibly an 8. I can definitely see Chadwick Boseman here. There's no question, but I just don't think it's like a jaw-dropping head sculpt. But kind of like what Pete was saying, look, typically, unless they say otherwise, the prototype or a few percentage points below the prototype is what you get when the final product comes out. They rarely go from something being a 7 to bang, it's a 10. It doesn't really happen that often. I know that there's been some cases where Killmonger has come out better than the prototype. I think a version of Rey came out. But typically you get the prototype where you get a small bit of a downgrade, or the odd time then you get the Tony Starks or the Ant-Man. So this here, because it was the Black Panther Legacy collection, is what they say it. Like it has the Black Panther, in the promotional images they had the Black Panther solo movie font, which would make sense because this was in the start of the solo movie, but they're calling it the Black Panther Legacy Collection. And the fact that he, passed away so young, I did think maybe if any figure that they were going to improve the prototype, they were going to do for this one. But I don't think this head sculpt looks bad, and it's not on pre-order and it's not my wish list, but it's one that I'm on a knife edge with. I could see myself picking this up down the line. It's a good looking figure and it's a good suit, and I like the extra pieces that it comes with, and I think I'd be collecting this a bit more. As much as I like Black Panther and I like the suit and stuff like that. I don't think the movie is. I think maybe controversial again. I think maybe it's a bit overrated. I heard Marco say this before, and I do agree with him. I do think it's a good movie, and I do think it's one of the stronger MCU movies. It just wouldn't be in my top 5. That's what I'm saying. Good figure, good looking, great character, a fantastic actor. And I think it's a Chadwick effect that would draw me in if I potentially was to get this. So
Absolutely.
Rest in peace.
Mojo Z78 says, the Avengers collection has always felt incomplete, so I can't wait to get him. Yeah, I've kind of felt the same way, to be honest. I actually have the Golden Jaguar figure standing there by himself with my Avengers setup. So I think it'll be cool to pose these guys up together for sure. Now, Chris, do you think it would be a morbid choice from somewhere like Hot Toys to have more of like a commemorative line of figures for people who have passed away? but for collectors who want a piece of that history in their collection. Because I think a lot of people are collecting this T'Challa now because Chadwick had passed away, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I think to me what I hate more than anything is when like real world events bleed into scripts, and like you have like weirdness, like when Carrie Fisher died, you have like the most bizarre Star Wars film of all time coming out after that with like weird deleted scenes of her being edited in just for the sake of doing it, even though they're not really relevant to the story. And this is a similar situation where the head sculpt doesn't bother me that much. I do remember hearing some complaints about it the first time around. It's a bit of a blank stare, maybe, if anything, but it's not offensive, the head sculpt. And I'm glad that some people can sort of round out their Avengers collection if they missed it the first time, because I'm sure this is marginally better in terms of paint apps, as everyone has been saying. But the fact that he died does nothing for my appreciation of the film, which I agree with what's been said earlier that I don't like MCU movies, and it wouldn't crack my top 5 either. But I'm happy for the people who wanted to round out their collection.
Absolutely. I think it's weird that they didn't even at least give him the rolling eye system at this point. If they were going to update it at all, so many figures are getting the rolling eye system now to be able to have different expressions. I think this could have been beneficial for this figure, especially because you've got this mask that can slip over his face, but he can only look in one direction. Also, his lip looks a little strange in this mask, at least in this photo, but I think having the rolling eye system would have definitely been a benefit. Thomas, is this one you're getting for your collection, buddy?
Oh, I already have it ordered. I haven't gotten a notification as to when it's going to be shipped, but I should be getting it from Sideshow sometime soon. And I'm very happy about it. I have it may be the one from his solo movie. It was the one that had that 3D, that had the black light effect that would. I'm not sure which movie that came from.
That's from the solo movie.
For the solo movie. Okay, so I have that one. And I have like over here in my collection, I have like a Black Panther only display that has like T'Chaka, Killmonger, T'Challa, Shuri, and when I get the Shuri Black Panther, I really wish they had done the Queen Mother. If they had done her, then I would have had the family complete, because I actually have T'Chaka sitting on the throne. And when I got Shuri's Black Panther in, and T'Challa, I was going to have the two of them flanking him on either side of the throne as part of my display. So I'm kind of excited to get them. I really like that slip-on mask. I would probably be I would be more inclined to pose some of that on than with his regular Black Panther mask. I think that one is more, I don't know. It just has a lot more impact to me.
Mm-hmm. It's very cool. I would say that I would be concerned about it scratching the face.
Oh, really?
Because it doesn't have any protective, it's just straight plastic.
Oh, okay.
It's like there's no foam inside. There's nothing. Let's see if I can pull it up here for you guys.
It just means don't take it on and off too much.
Yeah. I do like that with this mask, though. You could technically kit bash the scene of him actually wearing it in the film, because he's not wearing the suit when he wears this mask in the film, right? So you could technically kit bash a second figure out of it. Let's see what you're showing.
But see, I would actually use this. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I would actually use that as his official Black Panther mask in the display, because it just looks more, that looks more like, even though he didn't wear a mask like that in the comic book, that looks, when I see that actually looks like a panther. Mm-hmm. And I just think it looks so cool. I mean, that's cool too, don't get me wrong. I like that one, but something about that one with the teeth and everything like that, it just looks really, really epic to me. So cool. I probably would be very inclined to try and pose that. And I have like a couple of I have a Chadwick Boseman head sculpt that I purchased from someplace that I'm not extremely I'm not really connected to it. I mean, it's just sitting in a box somewhere. So I would probably put the mask on that, so I wouldn't have to worry about damaging his newly painted face in case I ever wanted to use that one. But yeah, I do. I'm excited about it. I'm looking forward to getting it into my collection because I had my original one that I have. I have him fighting Killmonger on another shelf, so I can't really do what I want to do with this one. So this one will have a separate purpose, and he'll probably be there once I receive my. I mean, I have to check my emails and see whether or not I have any notifications for it.
Yeah, based on what you told us earlier, figures just randomly show up for you all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they have slowed down, but I mean, there was a time during the pandemic where every day I would get like the mailman would haul in like 5, sometimes 10 boxes of things, and I would literally sit there for about 45 minutes or so just opening up boxes. And I think during that time, because of the isolation, I might have been just kind of doing a little bit of retail therapy, because it really did make me feel good receiving presents every single day. But it slowed down significantly, and I'm glad about it because my wallet thanks me.
That's right. If you just sing yourself the happy birthday song, you don't have to feel bad about anything you ever purchase. Doesn't matter what day it is. Doesn't matter what day. Guys, let's move on because this is popped up here as well this past week. Now, we're looking at multiple different SKUs when we look at the next couple of slides. So the coolest thing about the Dewback and the Sand Trooper Sergeant is this, in my opinion. You don't have to buy them at the same time. I like that you can get the figure by itself, you can get the Dewback by itself, or you can get them as a package deal. I think that is fantastic. I have not loved Hot Toys in the past when they paywall you behind a figure that you may want. That, you know, like the ARC Trooper, for example. You have to buy the ARC Trooper, you have to buy the bike itself, or like whatever you call it. I don't even know. Chris, you can probably correct me on the name of the vehicle, but either way, if something's paywalled behind thank you, the Bark Speeder. If something's paywalled behind an item like that, to me, it just takes it off the table entirely. This Dewback specifically is absolutely massive. Like, I'm pretty confident bigger than my house cat, and he's like a Bengal. Like, this thing is huge. This is almost as long in your display as the Keaton Batmobile. So for this, in order to be in your collection, it's absolutely like committing to a vehicle with 6 scale. Now, I know that there are some pretty diehard Star Wars fans out there who are absolutely loving this because of the possibilities that it explores. But Chris, what was your take when you first saw the Dewback and Trooper combination? Were you surprised to see how small that 6 scale figure looks on this bad boy? And is this a 6 scale figure you would consider putting in your Star Wars setup?
Well, as somebody extremely familiar with the source material, the interrelational scale does not throw me off at all. But you know, as most extreme Star Wars, like, you know, Star Wars lunatics will know that there's actually 3 different Dewbacks, and they're visually distinct. And you got your original movie pre-special edition Dewback. You got your episode 1. Well, there's actually 4. You got episode 1 Dewback, which actually looks pretty different. Then you got special edition Dewback, and then Mandalorian Dewback. But this does look pretty well modeled after the one in the original movie before special edition. And it's cool. You know, a lot of people don't realize he's got that little bit of a furry mane there. It's nice to see that replicated. And, you know, this was it looks like they're referencing the 1-to-1 prop that was made for the original movie quite a bit, which I like in terms of the shape of the head and all that. And, you know, if I were going to get one of these, this is the only character I would put on it, because that's first appearance Dewback right there with a sand trooper on his back, and none of this Mandalorian stuff. So, and I think probably the saddle is only accurate to the original Star Wars movie if you want to be very technical about putting Din Djarin on there or something. But you know, this appeals to me as someone who is not even a big Hot Toys collector, because this is basically a statue as far as I'm concerned. And it's cool to see that the legs do actually articulate. I do wonder about what the deal with the material is on that.
Well, I think it's actually like an interchangeable leg as opposed to like an articulation. So like you can pop it out and pop it in just to make sure that it has a different pose there, as well as the jaw, which is really cool. You can pop that out. But it does give people a reason to at least buy two if they're interested in buying two. You can make them look pretty different, which is interesting. Right. But very cool, very, very cool. Something you would maybe consider as just like a statuesque style piece.
Exactly. I think I think Sideshow did have one like maybe like 10 years ago. I don't know, but this looks pretty good. I don't know if two is really necessary. They did release the blurb pretty recently, and like I don't think that looked that great. Like the finished product, personally, just like certain details like around the eye and stuff, it did look a bit plasticky to me. But like if this is accurate, this is a little better. I think the iconic scene of a Dewback in the original movie is just one. So don't destroy yourselves, guys. You need somewhere to live. You need somewhere to sleep in your house. So I wouldn't get two.
Absolutely. Sleep on the Dewbacks. Pete, what do you think of this particular character and creature? Is it something you consider for your collection? And were you surprised that this even came?
Yeah, I would like it. I think the issue with it's not only very long, it's very tall as well. Once you've got the trooper on top of that, that's taken up, unless you've got him on a tabletop or just on a shelf. If you're trying to get him into some sort of cabinet, he's going to take up a lot of height as well, and width wise as well. He's some cabinets aren't even that deep, so I will probably pass just because, and it's not a cheap figure. I've got the original Sand Trooper, which is a fantastic figure and probably arguably Hot Toys' best ever Trooper release, I think, from my point of view. And I think a lot of people really love that figure. Be interesting to see if they're going to re-release it, because obviously we're seeing an orange pauldron Sand Trooper in some of these publicity shots. So whether or not they bring him out again. Initially, I was kind of like, did I just buy the Sergeant? But then I did used to have two Sand Troopers, and I sold one on. So, regrettably, I will probably pass on this. But I do think they look really cool, and they will be like epic in anyone's display. But this surprised me. Definitely was a surprise release. Yeah.
I felt that way. As soon as I saw the slide pop up on Facebook, I was like, oh man, they actually did it. That is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, like for me, I think I would at least consider the Trooper. I've got a shiny up in my collection, and he looks fantastic. I'd love to get one that's a little bit.
If you haven't got a Sand Trooper,
don't have
this
one
guy. Yeah, definitely. Mm-mm.
Absolutely. No, Shane, you've got a Trooper right in your logo for your YouTube channel. Is this one that you're considering picking up, whether it's just the figure or the creature and figure combination, or maybe just the creature? What do you think?
I'm in the process of joining the 501st in Ireland and the 501st worldwide. I have a full armor, and I love troopers. Yeah, I'm getting this. This is I just love the look of it. I think I agree with Pete. I think the Sand Trooper is probably one of the best ones they've done. I don't have that.
Yeah.
And it fetches a pretty penny in the
the
aftermarket. I love that this is original trilogy, and it's not like tied to any anniversaries or anything like that. It's really, you and Marco say it a lot, when you think they're going to zig, they zag. Where was the 40th anniversary Return of the Jedi stuff?
Right.
But look, full disclosure, I don't have space for the Dewback.
That's fair.
And the funny thing about being on YouTube is every now and then you'll say something on a stream or you say something in a video, and someone will call you out and go, oh yeah, you don't have space for Dewback. Where are you going to put, what about, you said you're getting a 1989 Batmobile. Yeah, that's why I don't have space for the Dewback.
You're making
you
space.
know what I mean? It's like, the Dewback looks amazing. It's going to be 80 centimeters, literally the length of that 1989 Batmobile. But as a kid, I was always more into vehicles than say creatures and dinosaurs and stuff like that. Dewback looks fantastic. Delighted that they've done it, but I'm gonna have to pass on the Dewback. I love this. The weathering, the fact that it's original trilogy. I think it comes with like 2 different rifle kind of blasters,
Yeah, it
backpack,
does, yeah.
binoculars, and the little ring. Look, what's the line? Looks or droids or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it comes with that little. I know it's a piece of plastic, like, but it's still like it's a cool little touch.
And Ben, I don't know if you can solo cam me for a second here, but like check this out. This is a photo
Ooh.
of this is a 1976 photo, and like look at that screen accuracy on that thing.
Cool.
Look at that. You never see it in the movie that well, but that's the original prop. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it does look really, really cool. Jose, is this one you're gonna throw in your collection, buddy, for your Star Wars setup?
Oh man, it's tough because I'm going to agree with what everyone is saying. This looks so cool. Like I saw it too, and I was like, oh man, they really actually went through with it. I don't collect stormtroopers at all because I've always been like, they're no name faceless people, and so it's like I can't invest in it. I know. I'm sorry, Shane. I know you're probably looking at me like what, but I've never pulled the trigger on any stormtroopers before,
Dude, the stormtroopers. Have you ever seen Austin Powers?
Long time ago when I was a kid.
I also like to live dangerously.
That was quick. That was quick. You said they're faceless, and it reminded me of that scene in the first Austin Powers movie where every time one of the evil henchmen got killed, it showed like
hilarious.
them phoning the wife or the friends or anything like that. So they're not so faceless. Jose,
Oh yeah.
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 how dare you? Stormtroopers are
Sorry.
faceless.
No, they're cool. I've never wanted to pay like retail for them. It's never been something that I've wanted to pursue. But this in general, also space wise, I don't think I could do it. I definitely like. I would want to have space for if I am going to pull the trigger on a vehicle like the '89 Batmobile. I'd want to prioritize and have space for that. So this is great. It looks really cool, and if I had the space for it, I would definitely consider it.
The size feels like a deterrent for me as well. In fact, I've never seen like a 6-scale vehicle in person until just recently. I was at a comic book store here in Calgary, and they've got the new DeLorean up on a cabinet, like on display. And it's the first time I've seen it in person, and while it's absolutely stunning, I was shocked at how big it was. To the point where I'm like, ooh, shit. Maybe I shouldn't get this. Like, I don't know where I'd actually put it in my apartment. And this Dewback is bigger, like lengthwise anyways, than that DeLorean, which is mind-boggling. So I think it's going to be bigger for people than they realize, potentially. But Thomas, any further thoughts on this before we move on to our final topic of the day?
No.
No? Not going to get it for you, though.
Well, I'm not a huge follower of Star Wars. I mean, it looks great, but I wouldn't really have any use for it.
Yeah, that's fair. Depending on like what glasses you have on that day as well, it could definitely be a tripping hazard. So you got to be careful, right? So you hate to
It
say
does.
that.
It does have the problem that it's like it's not like if you think of core Star Wars iconic things, it's like sort of a C-lister compared to something like the '89 Batmobile. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I felt like a fake fan when it came to Star Wars, Chris, now that you say that, because the first time I heard of a Dewback again, like when they were teasing them not that long ago, I couldn't remember what scene it was from.
Yeah.
And I love Star Wars. I've seen it a lot of times, and I couldn't remember the scene. I
Well,
had to go back and
even in
find it.
special edition, it's probably 10 seconds of screen time, even in special edition. So
Yeah.
Now, do y'all think they'll ever do that snow yeti thing?
The Tauntaun?
Is that what it's called?
Or like the actual, like the
the
one in the
Wampa.
cave, the Wampa? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the big white furry thing.
there was
from
a third party
I've got-
one sick figure recently.
I've got a custom one. There was a custom run. Yeah.
Cool.
It's cool. Yeah, it's a good figure. Yeah.
I'll wait for InArt, the rooted version. Guaranteed.
This one,
Guaranteed.
my one is rated.
That's
It's rated.
Yeah. It wasn't $1,000, so you'll love to see it. So
No, it
or
wasn't.
maybe it was. Maybe it was. I don't. You should never
no,
assume
it
a custom price. Never assume a
It was
custom
good, it
price.
was good value.
That's awesome. Speaking of Artisan and rooted hair figures, This week, collectors finally were able to put their pre-order in for their Anakin Skywalker as well as the Joker rooted hair version and sculpted hair version. Now, I say people were able to do it. Not everybody was, obviously. You could have signed up for the RSVP list. Some people, or most people, sounds like they got their RSVP. Some people said that they didn't, said that it was a bit of a broken system. The Joker was the first day, went what seemingly went pretty well for the most part. It seems like most people who wanted the Joker, seems like they got it. Obviously, you had to be in line pretty quick. You had to be pretty swift with your technology. There was some advice going around of signing into multiple devices, and whatever puts you in line first is best. Gives you the greatest amount of chances. Obviously, with the Joker being that there was a sculpted version and a rooted version, I'm sure that split the lineup a little bit. For me, the sculpted version of the Joker is the one that I was most interested in. I haven't pre-ordered it yet, though. I decided to stay out of the lineup all day and see what happened with the community. Most people said the Joker one went pretty smoothly. With regards to the Anakin, there were a lot more frustrated people with the Anakin. Of course, there was only one SKU. A lot of people said that there were troubles with the website being booted out of queue, or different links that you had to click that wasn't quite obvious, and then you clicked the link and now you're 5,000th in line. So lots of challenges with regards to the figure collecting community. Now, a lot of people have said this makes collecting fun again, because you don't know necessarily if you're going to get the piece, and when you do, you feel pretty awesome that you got it over other people that maybe didn't. But for the people who don't get it, and you really want it, that can be a tough nut to swallow. So, Pete, did either of these tickle your fancy? Did you put yourself in the queue or RSVP list for either of these figures? And generally, from folks in the community, have you seen any other feedback with regards to how their process or time went online?
No, I didn't get involved with these. I like the Anakin. I do think it looks good, but I also think it's disappointing that they don't appear to have updated any of the materials or anything. It's literally just about the head sculpt. Joker, I don't collect any of that stuff, so I'm fine with that. Mm-hmm. I think I've deliberately stayed away from it. I've seen a lot of stuff pinging up on my Facebook saying, "Oh yeah, I got one, didn't get one, was in this list, was this and this," and I've kind of just stayed completely out of it because I wasn't intending on going for either of them, and I knew it would be a bit of a shit show. If you got one, well done. Congrats, but I wasn't getting involved with that, and I wouldn't really want to pay the money for this either. It's
that's right. What's your take, Pete, then on exclusivity and them doing artisan lines like this where you might not get the figure if you miss the line, you show up too late to the queue. Mm-hmm. You should out of luck. Do you feel like that helps to improve the health of the community? Do you think it's bad for the community? What are your thoughts?
I'm not a particular fan of exclusivity. I'm not in this hobby to curate all of the rarest figures and watch the values go up. I think these things should be available to anybody that wants them, and obviously the problem with the exclusivity is that there will always be people that will buy these just to flip them on the groups or on eBay, and there are always people that are willing to pay twice, three times what it was because they missed out, and I don't necessarily see that as a healthy thing to be, and a lot of people will quite disparaging of other people, they'll rub it in their faces and say, I got one, blah blah blah.
I saw a lot of that rather than last couple of days.
Rather than kind of just taking that the more humble view that I got lucky, I got one. Shame you guys didn't get one. I'm not really a fan of that, and I know that's possibly a more a thing that like statue collectors are into. Like a lot of the price of that is the limited numbers, the numbered pieces, the exclusivity. But that's not a reason that I collect. Certainly not.
Absolutely. And Eddie Money Mendez on Collecting Weekly and I last week, we got into the debate of exclusivity and like what does exclusive actually mean, because things can be exclusive and not necessarily be numbered, which I agreed with. For me, my takeaway from this Artisan line, especially if they have what's deemed a certain number of these being made, I would have liked to see some transparency in a numbering system. Like, have these figures be numbered, know that you got unit 500 of 3000 or whatever. It makes that aspect of it fun. I like the collectivity of a numbered edition. I don't like that they told us there's a certain amount and called it exclusive, but for all we know that they made more just to satisfy orders. Shane, what was your thinking on the way this all went down last week? Did you put yourself in either of the queues for either of these figures? And what do you feel it's done to the collecting community, positive or negative?
I don't collect prequels, and I have a Rooted Hair Joker to them, so I didn't see.
You don't want four? You don't want four Jokers in your collection?
I don't want three. So I just saw it as like, why would I go and get like a sculpted hair version when I'm happy with the rooted? And then judging on the prototype, I know it's just a prototype, I do think the in art is better, and we're sick of talking about this, let's be honest. I just said, well, that's funds I can allocate to something else as opposed to getting yet another Joker, you know what I mean? So no, I just stayed out of it, and I know I've heard positive things about the queue. Usually with these things, whether it's a lottery or an RSVP or something, it's the people that get it thinks the system is great, and the people that don't get one think the system is the worst system ever. But in this case, there was people who didn't get it. I've heard a few people who didn't get it who say, no, the system was quite seamless, and just accepted that they didn't get it. And then I know inevitably you'll have people who are annoyed they didn't, and maybe people who did teasing the people who didn't and stuff like that. But when it comes to these limited pieces, I would rather have access to a piece that is not limited than look after a piece that I want that is extremely limited. It's going to be a barrier to me actually getting it. I don't mind if everyone on the street has my favorite figure, because I'm 99% of the time in my own house, look at my own collection, so I don't know what people have or haven't, bar things on YouTube. So no, I'm not into the whole limited thing. It's a nice touch. It is a nice touch, but nah.
That's fair. Well, because you even said earlier, a piece of advice was collect what you love, right? And if you are trying to collect what you love, say the in-art Joker didn't exist, and this is the first time we've seen a Joker from Hot Toys since the DX11. Can you imagine then missing it if it was the figure you absolutely love and want?
The way I look at this Artisan line is, okay, these are two Artisans. We have two so far, and I don't have an interest in either of them. But like, it's only a matter of time before they do put up a figure with the Artisan line, the rooted hair and yada yada, that I'm like, oh, I actually really want this. And I'd probably just try to get one off a Hong Kong reseller or something like that, like a reputable one. Cross that bridge when I come to it. It's a matter of time, but like, if I miss out, I miss out. Like,
absolutely. Now, Chris, I know you are not a huge Hot Toys collector necessarily. Is there a Star Wars character specifically that if Hot Toys Artisan line made, you'd be like, that would be one that I would buy?
Wow. I probably not, because like as far as like as far as necessary rooted hair, like, I mean, does it get more necessary than this? Like, look how good that looks, man. It's crazy. The only thing that throws me off about this is, as far as having a sculpted hair version, is like, how does it hold up over years, right? Because like, this is something I would have out for a long time, and I don't know, like, I have a hard time imagining that like it's gonna maintain that look. Like, it's probably very sensitive to like temperature and all kinds of stuff, but I think it looks amazing. What did they say? They made 4,000. Is that right? Do you guys remember that?
3,000, I believe, of this one, but I fact check me in the chat, guys, if I'm wrong on that one. I don't know.
Well, I get it's nice to see that 3,000 for a prequel characters at like $400 or whatever it is sells out in less than an hour. I like that, but I think that it's not. I don't think it's limited enough that that people need to be like really annoyed by it. I think if you were dedicated and it was that important to you, you probably had a fair shot. The Joker is a weird choice to me. I think they should have done like the nurse or something, just because it's a saturated market at this point. Do something else. Maybe come back to this guy in 5 years. It's a weird time, but I like it. I'm not mad at the production numbers. I think there's enough there that if you must have it, you're gonna pay a little bit more and get it from somebody else.
For sure. I did a this or that video on the Ben Thomas Show recently, comparing the Hot Toys Joker, this newest version, to the in-art Joker, and just asking people like what their thoughts was. And it's one of the most viewed videos on my channel now, because it's clearly a pretty divisive subject based on a favorite character for a lot of people. Overwhelmingly, it was a very split decision. I think it kind of depended if you had already picked up the in-art version or not. I've fallen in love with my in-art one. I don't feel like I need this anymore, despite my little bit of FOMO. I know our buddy Marco 16fix. Hopefully Gigi's not watching. I'm pretty sure he's getting another like 2 Jokers. He's gonna have 4 purple coated Jokers in his collection. Now maybe he's changed his mind.
Crazy.
But crazy. Like, that's a commitment and a half.
No, he told me he ordered it. So
he ordered it. There you go. Yeah, there you go. So will I be jealous when he gets it in hand and I have to watch him unbox it? 100%. Do I feel like I could miss it? Yeah, kind of. Chris, have you ever like tried to get something that was super exclusive and missed it though, based on your collection of other things that you collect?
Yeah, I mean, the odd time there'll be a convention exclusive that I line up for and they're sold out by the time I get up there, but nothing really in this price range. I haven't had the experience of waiting in an online queue for over an hour and then striking out. That must be painful, and I do sympathize with those of you that happen to.
Absolutely. I like this comment because I'm reading into how he's saying it. I like Marco, but what the fuck? 4 Ledger Jokers in a purple coat? I know,
right.
It's questionable, isn't it? It's questionable. Yes. Jose, what about you? I see a Joker over your right shoulder there, and I saw you laughing at Marco over here too. But are you picking up these figures? Did you get in the queue? Did you miss them? And what are your thoughts on what's done with collectability in the hemisphere of collecting?
So I didn't feel the need to get in the queue on Thursday for the Joker. I didn't want the rooted version, and I mean the one I have is a sculpted single in art, so that's good enough for me. So I like this one. I couldn't explain having 2 purple coat Jokers myself, so I don't know how Marco does it, but but I did get in the queue for Anakin, and I was disappointed I didn't get it. No. I'm not going to complain and whine and all that, but I didn't know what to do. So I was asking Marco, like, oh, how early do I need to go? And he told me, like, get on there 2 hours before. So I was on there from, like, it's 7 a.m. Pacific time here in California. And I was on the page. So I was on there for a while. And I had my phone on the browser. I had the laptop on the browser. I had a friend who has an account who also orders, who was going to help me try to get it as well.
Jeez.
Trying on the queue as well. And
still didn't get it.
I still didn't get it. I think the closest I got was I was within 10 minutes of going in when it like sold out. So
Marco should have told you 2.5 hours. That guy. Terrible advice. Terrible advice. You hate to see it. I'm just kidding. I love that guy.
I was pretty bummed. I have light side Anakin, but I figured I'm like, this one looks so good. I feel the likeness is improved. The hair, if you can get it just right, it looks so lifelike. So I was like, well, maybe I can sell this one and pick this one up. So unfortunately, I didn't pick it up. So this one will do.
Absolutely. Well said, good sir. Guys, I have one final question of the day, and I want the chat to participate as much as you can as possible as well. I'll quickly read some of your comments. We got about 10 minutes left of the show. The question of the day is this. We talk a little bit about entertainment news on the show at the beginning hour, and then we talk a lot about figure news for the second hour. But obviously, there is a Hollywood strike going on for both actors as well as writers. Shane, I want to start with you first, buddy. How will the current Hollywood strike affect collecting? Or do you think it will affect it? What are your thoughts?
Okay, so less content means that, okay, they have an opportunity. Okay, there's three things here. The way three things to the way I look at this. The first one is, what my heart says. My heart says that, oh, well, it's a perfect opportunity to go back there and give us updated versions of figures that we've been wanting for years. Like, go back to the Predator, give us the Ripley and the Power Loader, give us the Colonial Marines, give us the Terminator 1 and 2. But I don't believe that's going to happen. Then there's the kind of like the logical thing that they should do is, with the 100+ pre-orders, they could use this time to go, okay, let's get this stuff out. And then there's what actually is going to happen is we're probably going to get more Iron Man. Like that's my take on it. That's my take on it. It's like they're going to kind of maybe give you soft 2.0s, you know, like 1.5s or something like that.
Oh no.
But or there's another way they could go deeper into things like Ahsoka that maybe than they'd had planned on going. You know what I mean? So there's still content out there. And there's still things like you're still waiting on characters from Guardians of the Galaxy 3, aren't we?
Yeah.
So
the Drax I don't think is going out for order yet. Yeah. And I don't think the Mantis has either, but I could be wrong on that one. But yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So no matter what we think they're going to do, they're going to do something out of left field. Like you're in purgatory here.
Yeah.
You know,
that's why I pulled it up. I was like, what's in purgatory at the moment?
Poor Hawkeye.
Poor Hawkeye, his own show.
Or Indiana Jones. Everybody, old Indiana Jones. Everybody was talking about it there for a week or two, and still nothing. I don't know. Yeah. Well said, though, Shane. What do you think, Pete? Do you think the Hollywood strike will have an impact on collecting, or do you think really we're just going to see a bit of a catch-up at this point? Maybe see some things early. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe. It'd be good to see them obviously revisiting some older franchises, like Shane said, and you know, there's still hundreds of Star Wars figures from the original trilogy that we could have, and would be great in our collections. I think that obviously we'll probably see if there's a lack of new figures going on for pre-order, we might see a little bit of a resurgence in the used market, second-hand market, with people going after back catalogue stuff that they maybe were scared off by the prices and stuff, particularly with the pre-orders that they had going. But obviously, if that does slow down over the next year or so, then people might go and search for those those missing figures from their collections.
Definitely. Is there a figure you would go searching for if there was a major slowdown in terms of content coming out or even collectibles coming out as a result? Is there a figure you'd go back and go hunting for once again at this point?
Yeah, not really, because I've been collecting for a long time, and I did a count up my figures the other day, and I've got nearly 150, I think, and I always think, like, there's always, like, Shane's got a wish list. I almost always have just like one figure, but the problem is it's becoming a diluted thing, because you know, each time I get one of those figures that I've been looking for, then something else then becomes the most important thing to go looking for, and it might not necessarily be something that I would, you know, if I'd looked at it all from above and said, oh, this is a figure that I'm going to want in so many years. So it's all a little bit kind of a conveyor belt, because there'll always be something that that will slot in and become the one I'm looking for. But actually, where I am right now, I just picked up a Jango Fett a couple of weeks ago, and that's not a figure that I ever really would have gone for. But you know, and now I kind of got him, and there's nothing there that's really, you know, in terms of going back, because I've got a few pre-orders and stuff. I actually can't think of anything, which is a good thing for my wallet at the moment. That there's nothing that I'm actually chasing. I'm not going to, you know, there's some older sideshow stuff, but you know, fuck paying £600 for Greedo. I mean, ridiculous. So, there's some things that are just off limits. So yeah.
That's fair. Jose, what about you? Do you feel like the Hollywood strike is going to have much of an impact on collecting, or do you think we're really just going to see Hot Toys and other companies finally catch up with some of their orders?
It just depends on how long this goes for, I think. If it does go, it's projected to go up until October, then, you know, we could definitely see them kind of backtracking on a few previously teased figures. maybe some older IPs, 2.0s, things like that. But I think there's a few things they could still do with the new releases. Blue Beetle right now that just came out. They could do Blue Beetle. They can, like you said, go further with the Ahsoka line. So there's a few things out there that they could still do. I mean, the anniversary Return of the Jedi figures. So they can keep us busy for the rest of the year, I think. But again, it just depends on, the content's going to be so delayed. A lot of these movies are being pushed until next year that they'll most likely need to either go back to, this long list of previously teased figures and or expand on lines.
Absolutely. Is there any 2.0s you'd want them to consider revisiting at this point?
Oh, gosh.
Or are you not a 2.0 fan?
No, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things I didn't collect. Predators, Terminators, things like that. If they went back and they did 2.0s for those, I'd definitely be interested.
Absolutely. Thomas, do you feel like a break could be good for collectors, or do you feel like collectors would fill their time buying things that they previously didn't necessarily need in their collection if there's a slowdown?
I don't know. I guess it depends on how disciplined they are as collectors. If I went back 3 years and I felt like there was going to be a delay in the things that they're putting out, the undisciplined me 3 years ago will probably go out and find something. I probably would either go back and start chasing grails, or I might go back and start getting, maybe go to even more third-party figures, because I do like third-party figures. But I think it might... but I think if you're disciplined, you can wait. I'm still like I would like them to catch up and put out the things that they've neglected. Like they still need to give us a Namor.
Yeah,
I need that. They still just like you mentioned about Drax. We need Drax. So give us the things that you've been sitting on, and complete the things that we had pre-ordered a year, 2 years ago, and start putting them out. I just like that Scarlet Witch. I don't know why it took them so long to do that Scarlet Witch. It shouldn't have taken them that long, and it still goes beyond me now. I don't know everything about the production and everything that's involved in that. So there may have been things with the factories, may have been things with materials, but it's difficult to, in my mind, to justify why it's taken them so long on certain figures, especially when like the two Visions came out so far before Scarlet Witch did.
yeah.
And so I'm like, I think they just need to start playing catch up, because if they catch up on their figures and start getting them out, then they may, when things start being produced again, it's going to open up more opportunities for them to put out more content. More figures. But I don't know, maybe they're thinking the long game. Maybe they're saying, well, let's just parse it out gradually, because until we get more things that we can produce, we got to make sure that we have money coming in. So I don't know their justification behind it, but I really do wish they would catch up. I don't necessarily need them to go through these figures here that they've had on the wish list. Or on their coming soon list. Especially if it's not coming soon.
Yeah, some of them are pretty old, honestly.
Yeah, it soon has been a long time ago.
Yeah, Lince Nightwing is like long dead at this point.
Yeah, really. So I'm like, why even tease us with it? Why not just take it down and just make it clear to us we're not going to be making this. It's something we thought about, and either we felt like it's just not going to sell the way we needed to, or maybe there was more involved with it. Just take it down. It's kind of annoying to see it still up there.
Absolutely. No, guys, what do you think? We're all pretty seasoned collectors at this point, I'd say, for the most part. Some of us more seasoned than others, for sure. Pete, looking at you, in a good way. Do you think collectors would appreciate timetables being bumped up? You know, like when I was talking about budgeting earlier, for example, I've got 10 figures on pre-order. If suddenly I got a fistful of emails that said, "Hey, good news, the figure's coming a month early. Do you want to settle now?" Do you think that would cause chaos for collectors, or do you think they'd appreciate it, or do you think that it'd be something that we'd celebrate as a community? What do you think?
I think it would screw some people up. I mean, when I see the amount of pre-orders some people have got, for me, I'm quite happy if they bump stuff up, because I've never really got. I think at the moment I've got, I don't know, 6 or 7 pre-orders. So it's not like it's even if 2 or 3 of those hit over several months, it wouldn't really be too much of an issue. But I think for a lot of people, that I've seen a lot of a lot of people saying that they found this year quite a struggle with 2 or 3 invoices kind of landing, needing to be settled, and so it's a double-edged sword. It's always great to get a figure a bit early, but then if it's backed up really quickly by a couple more, we always talk about people sort of being responsible in this hobby and not getting themselves into trouble, and that could quite quickly escalate into difficult situation, and people aren't they don't want to give these figures up, even though, as people have pointed out, they're a bit of fun. They're not important, but sometimes they can seem like the most important thing, and you just need to be aware of kind of what you're doing and what you're getting involved with, really. But
100%. Well, because I felt that way earlier this week when the Black Panther went up. I'm only halfway through my payment plan, and I was like, well, shit. Like, now I want it. So I figured out a way to pull some funds together and make it happen, right? But not everybody's in that position, and it sucks to see other people getting it when you're like excited. I don't know. If I had like 10 emails all of a sudden that said you're coming a month early, if you want it, I'd be shitting pants. So I don't know. It's one of those interesting topics. Let us know, guys. Everybody watching live or on replay, would you like a bumped up schedule from Hot Toys? Would that be something you'd be excited about or not? Now, Pete, I will stick with you. We are at the end of the show. We still have 23 people watching. Thanks for sticking around with us live, everybody. We appreciate the comments and the fun chat and the laugh with all of you guys. Pete, Only Fools in Collecting and Division of Collecting Weekly YouTube channel. What do you got coming up for us, good sir, that we can look forward to over there?
So we're edging towards immortality, 100 episodes. So we've got episode 99 this Thursday. Thomas, if you still want to join us on Thursday, you're more than welcome, and I will send you the link. Just check your times. It'll be 8:30 UK time, so probably 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon for you if you're in New York time. So just check that out. But I will send you the link. And then the big 100, which we need to get our fingers out, because we've got that Carnage, the SH Figure Arts Carnage giveaway that Lane Kramer was very, very kindly donated to us. So we need to get our heads together. I think it'll be a live giveaway. Maybe answer a few questions or something during the show. Try and get the listeners up. We're hoping to have a few, faces from the past joining us, and maybe try and get some sort of good discussion going about. We've been doing this for 4 or 5 years. People's views on kind of how their collections have changed, maybe, or how they've seen the hobby change. Something a little bit different. There'll probably be a few bits of news, but we want it to be kind of something a bit different. So really looking forward to that. Actually, episode 50 was a blast, and 100 should be lots of fun. So episode 99 this week, and then 2 weeks later, 7th of September, is episode 100. So please join us. Come have some fun.
Congratulations on that milestone. I think we're only at episode 17 of Let's Get Nuts right now. 100 still feels like a very long way away, and that's an accomplishment. It takes a lot of work to put a show together, honestly, and to stay consistent with it. And everything. So, and I think most of the people in the live chat right now are collecting weekly subscribers, but anybody watching on replay, if you haven't already clicked the subscribe button over there at Collecting Weekly, they do good things. I'm part of their Tuesday night main show. I always have a fun time with those boys. I have a really good laugh. They've become like brothers for me, and they're getting so close to 3,000 subscribers that it's insane. There's going to be a Carnage giveaway. You guys got to get over there and check it out. Collecting Weekly, if you haven't already.
Exciting times.
I love you, buddy. Thank you for coming back as always.
No worries.
Chris, over at the Vintage Rebellion podcast, as well as Collecting Weekly as well on Small Talk. What's coming up, buddy, that we can follow you over at and keep in touch?
Yeah, well, Vintage Rebellion puts out about one episode a month, but the next one's going to be cool because we did a convention here in Toronto for you old school Star Wars nerds, where we reunited some of the original animators who worked on the cartoon for the holiday special and Droids and Ewoks, which was all produced here in Toronto. So you can hear some old animators having a laugh about how weird it was to work on the Star Wars holiday special, and that should be coming out on Vintage Rebellion in the next week or so. And then, Small Talk is also coming up on 100 a couple weeks after OFAC. Sean's been putting in a lot of effort, and he's been on there a long time, so I'm gonna do what I can to help him out with that, even though I've only been on the last 10 of those or so. But the other thing with Small Talk is we haven't totally, and we have an Instagram active now, which is Small Talk CW on Instagram, so check that out if you can.
Absolutely, dude. Thank you for joining once again. I always love your take, especially when it comes to some of the Star Wars stuff. Some of the collection that you just randomly pull out of your background, by the way, is always really epic. So I don't know if you've ever done a collection tour, but if you have, you got to tell us where to find that as well.
You can see half of it.
You can see half of it. Yeah, that's the perspective.
Just if I can just jump in on Small Talk, I mean that's brilliant, and really, well, I feel like we've stolen their thunder a little bit, because obviously we're both. We swap, we alternate every 2 weeks, and they should have hit 100 well before us, but obviously there was issues with the hosts, with people leaving and stuff like that, and obviously Dylan recently, and Sean's taken it over and been brilliant, so they should have got there first. All things being equal at the moment, we will get there the week before them, but I definitely see it as a joint celebration. That week will 100%. Be fantastic, with us both hitting it in that week. So congratulations to Small Talk as well. Brilliant.
Heck, absolutely. Well, again, Chris, thanks for joining, buddy. Let me know anytime you want to pop in. You're always certainly welcome here, except for that one time that I had to kick you out at the very last second. That was a one-off. No, I swear.
For me, yeah. I'll always remember that.
You're always welcome, except for that one time. Yeah. You hate to see it. Shane, Mr. 1/6 figure focus himself. This might be the last week we have you, it sounds like, because you got to go back to being like a teacher again, of course.
No.
But thanks for coming in on your Sunday, super late there. Obviously, we're looking at your page here, 1/6 figure focus. You're getting close to 2.5K subscribers, and I'm sure 3K not that far away from there. Probably already planning it a little bit at this point.
Oh, wait until those Barbie shorts kick in, man.
Oh man, you joke about it now, but you're gonna message me tomorrow and be like, shit.
Yeah, you and the quarter scale Dark Knight, #Barbie all the way. Yeah.
What do you got coming up, buddy, that we can look forward to, or stuff you posted recently that maybe people have missed?
Did he survive, Shane? Was there any damage to the
grand, like
biggest smash I've seen in a bit.
The magnetic head popped off, and then the backpack and the sticky bomb gun ended up on the carpet. And I thought these were surely going to be gone. The blades on the gauntlet or the nose, because it's really pointy. Just got the look of the Irishman. Don't think that's going to happen twice, but
no,
I put him back up, and I've just put a bit more attention and care into.
Yeah, I'm glad he was okay.
Yeah, actually, the pose I have him in now looks a lot better. Just looks more present, but
it's always good things to come out of tragedy. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks like he's going to leap off here now. So yeah, that's what I need. You need to just throw these figures in the ground sometimes before you get a new pose. What's coming up? In the process of doing the collection tour Mark III, which is the third collection tour beyond the channel. It's not going to be ready anytime soon within the next few days. I'm waiting on a piece to come into the collection before I can finish it, but it's started. The bits I can film, I am in the process of doing that. The Hope Show, I think we're up episode number 13, the weekly show that I do, is live tomorrow, Monday night, 8 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time, or 3 p.m. New York time, or midday West Coast. What else is coming up? That's pretty much it. Yeah. So we're doing if we hit 3,000. Ian, that's H in Silverfox, has donated a brand new sealed in box Winter Soldier from Civil War. So
Cool.
It's one of the bloody good ones, like so that he's even gonna pay shipping. So when
really generous.
if that happens, like we'll how we're gonna do it is we're gonna give everyone a week's notice, and we'll give it away on the Hope Show, but you'll have to be subscribed and in the chat. And we're gonna ask a question and be quickest comment gets it. So that's how we're gonna do it. So yeah, thanks.
I'm going to say the YouTube system glitched and I got robbed and I should have won it, but I didn't, and all of the things. Just
and
so
I'm
you're
going to
aware.
ignore all of that and just
Okay.
send it to whoever. Yeah.
As you should. As you should. I'm probably not even allowed to enter at this point.
Fucking
It's
Canadian
collecting
chancers,
weekly.
huh?
Hate to see it.
Chancers. Just there was something else there that you mentioned. Because this is like when you start, it's 10 p.m. on a Sunday, so it's probably a little past my bedtime. But do you do daylight savings in Canada?
Yep.
Oh, you do. So that means then Pete? Does that mean when we change and they change, it won't make a difference to the time gap?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
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 Gotcha. Cool. Yeah. So
We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it
the
goes.
odd time I'll hop on.
Yeah.
Pop in when you
Yeah.
can, buddy. It's always good to have you here.
Cool.
Definitely
you,
one of the
appreciate
definitely one of the hardest working YouTubers in collecting, especially in 6 scale.
I wasn't
check out
working
your
hard
content.
enough to catch that quarter scale Dark Knight though.
Well, then,
Yeah.
No, you were just zoned in. You were like, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Spider-Man. Yeah. Classy Thomas, SpongeBob SquareBalls. Always good to have you here, buddy. You're like 4 subscribers away from 50. Can we use our burner accounts and get this man to 50 people?
Yeah.
But buddy, always good to have you. Thanks for your take on everything today. Even the stuff that you're like, I don't even collect that, but I'm gonna give you a hot take anyways. Love to see it. Anything coming up for you this week, buddy, that you're looking forward to that we can celebrate for you?
Yeah, hopefully if I can finish it. I'm still working on that, on those posing things I'm doing with because I just received in the mail this week. I got my Winwoo in the suit, and I have Trevor and his chair, and then of course I've got Shang-Chi and Winwoo in their fighting costumes. So I'm kind of wanting to do a kind of like a pseudo, not so much of a review, but checking out the figures and some of their accessories and just doing a nice posing session with them. So I have my white box over there that I'm going to be trying to work with. I had to set it up again, so hopefully I'll be able to get that out this week. But then I also need to go back and look at my tutorials on editing, because again, my goal is to try to learn something new and incorporate it in my most current stream. So I have a lot I need to do to get prepared for that, but my goal is to try to get it done sometime this week. And once I do, I'll make sure to tell you guys in the chats or notify you, and hopefully you guys will be able to come around and check it out and just kind of have a little bit of fun with me. So I'm hoping to get a little bit more consistent. Hopefully with the winter time, when winter comes, people naturally stay indoors a lot more. I stay indoors pretty much traditionally because I don't like being out in the heat. So that may give me a little bit more incentive. Something about when things get fall and winter and things start getting darker earlier, you kind of want to be indoors doing things, or at least I do. So I'm going to be working on some things and working on being consistent a little bit more. That's the one thing that happens when you don't have a schedule. You have to be responsible for making your own schedule. And my ADHD kind of prevents me from doing that as much as I like to. So I'm working on that. But yeah, hopefully this week we'll have a nice stream out, and I'll try to make it look as attractive as I can make it.
There you go, buddy. Well, always good to see you here. My antisocial side means that I never really want to go outside and talk to people. I only ever want to do things inside, and yeah, preferably in the darkness. I'm good with that. I'm going to play a whole lot of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom this evening after I get off the stream, and maybe make some shepherd's pie, because I mean, why the hell not? But you say winter. You don't use those dirty words on this stream, okay? We're still smack dab in the middle of the summertime, Thomas. Don't you take my summer away from me, good sir.
All right, I
love you, though. Thanks for coming back, buddy, as always. Jose G. Hernandez, I can't remember what you told me to call you, the G-Man, I think it was. I'm going to call you the G-Man. What's going on for you, buddy? You've been making your rounds on all the streams lately. You're going to be more popular than Pete is here pretty soon.
Oh, gosh.
Definitely already more popular than me. So, let's be honest. What's coming up for you, buddy, that we can look forward to? Are you going to start doing more full-time streaming?
I think so, yeah. But yeah, whenever you guys invite me, I'll be there. Today I just popped in because you needed some backup Avengers, so here I got here. But I was concerned because we're here in California, especially Southern California, talking about this hurricane that's coming. So we were concerned about the lights going out and the internet going out, and there's people hoarding at Costco. So people are acting really strange over here. So I mean, it is California, right?
Yeah,
so
fair enough.
So we were concerned about that, but the lights didn't go out. I'm here, internet's working, so we made it through the stream. So here we are.
I mean, you've sounded like you're in the Matrix for an hour. I just haven't said anything, so you know. I'm kidding. You're good.
You should have said something. In terms of content, like I mentioned earlier, we did do the live unboxing on Mario's channel of the Black Panther.
That's fun.
So it's on there if you have an hour to kill. And you want to laugh, there's some funny moments there. I compare him to Robin in one particular section. I think you guys will enjoy that.
I mean, who wouldn't enjoy that? Honestly, a package comparison for sure. This is Let's Get Nuts after all. Jose, always a pleasure to have you here, buddy. You can volunteer to come anytime you want. Anybody that puts up their hand by Friday of the previous Sunday to come in the stream, you get first dibs. Chris put in his hand this week really quick. You got first dibs. So if you ever want to be in, definitely let me know, especially if you start doing more content creation, you want to build your own YouTube channel. I'd be happy to platform you anytime. You're a lovely community member. So thanks for coming in. For everybody still in the chat, of course, you are on the Ben Thomas Show right now watching live. I'm about 90 subscribers, 89 subscribers away from 2,000, which is insane. So to everybody who has supported me and my little YouTube channel, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I do appreciate it. It's a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of consistency, but the fact that you guys show up every week and watch and give great comments and have a laugh with us definitely is important. I love your faces. Absolutely. Thank you for subscribing to the Ben Thomas Show and all of my friends here in the panel, of course. Now, guys, I would say for another Sunday, we did get nuts today. It wasn't as nutty as I expected, potentially, especially with the meatball conversation. But Pete, you missed the meatball conversation, so make sure you go back and give me your take in the private chat on 7 billion people worth of meatball. But with that said, guys,
yeah.
It's pretty gnarly. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, you're probably gonna be happy that you did miss it. In full transparency. But once again, thanks for watching, everybody. Again, I love your faces. I love you guys in the chat and in the panel. You are the boys. Pete, with that said, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
I'll be back.